Chapter 155, Baby Birth Lottery. Reset. One time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, more than 2 months had passed. Due to the daily tasks of crafting second-rank spirit talismans and creating puppets, Lu Changsheng's days became even busier. But busy as he was, he never forgot what was truly important. In those past months, he had successfully sired children with both Jiang Lue and Yu Yao. 4 maids like these, with spiritual roots, Lu Changsheng would always give them special attention. At the same time, little Qing and the maid Song Lan, under his favor, had also conceived their second child. One day, on the 3rd floor of the spiritual talisman shop, after completing the daily crafting of talismans, Lu Changsheng went to the storage room to polish puppet components with his spiritual power. In a corner nearby, various puppet parts were laid out. Although the materials for a second-rank puppet weren't entirely complete, it didn't stop Lu Changsheng from crafting some components in his spare time. After all, this wasn't something that could be finished in a month or 2. It was a long-term project. He estimated it would take about 3 or 4 months, or perhaps even longer. At that moment, quite abruptly, a profound and mysterious pulsation arose in Lu Changsheng. A pulsation from the spiritual root? Xiao Yuer's child has been born. This child has a spiritual root. And it's a 7th grade spiritual root. Lu Changsheng sensed this pulsation, first in surprise, then immediately his face lit up with joy. Having experienced the surge from a spiritual root enhancement so many times, Lu Changsheng could more or less judge the quality of the child's spiritual root based on the feeling. Feeling this surge of the spiritual root now, and keeping in mind the timeline of his wives' and concubines' pregnancies, he immediately knew that Xiao Yuer's child had been born, and that it possessed a 7th grade spiritual root. This made Lu Changsheng's heart surge with excitement and joy. However excited, Lu Changsheng did not rush home to see the child right away. After all, it wouldn't do for him to wait at home or rush back every time a child with a spiritual root was born. Once or twice was fine, but too often it would arouse suspicion. Lu Changsheng took a deep breath to temper his inner delight. He set the component aside and began to meditate and cultivate. An hour later, Lu Changsheng opened his eyes and could feel that his speed of cultivation had markedly increased from before. It had improved by about 10%. I feel that with 2 or 3 more 7th grade spiritual roots, my own spiritual root would be able to ascend to the 6th grade. Lu Changsheng's eyes sparkled with anticipation. He felt that if he just continued to expand his family peacefully, achieving a middle-grade spiritual root was not far off. After that, Lu Changsheng continued working on the screws in his hand. But, thinking of the child at home, his heart felt so restless that he couldn't even focus on screwing properly anymore. Seeing the outside getting dark, Lu Changsheng stood up and went straight home to see the child. Just as he returned home, one of his wives told him that Xiao Yueru had given birth. It was a daughter. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng went to the backyard to visit. Looking at his daughter with a 7th grade spiritual root, Lu Changsheng's delight grew the more he looked at her. This scene filled Xiao Yueru with smiling happiness and made the other women envious. They thought to themselves that their lord husband truly loved the children and resolved to bear him many more. Meanwhile, inside a certain cave dwelling, a skinny young man, holding a black jar, was overjoyed. Within the jar, there was a blood-red goo worm, seemingly on its last breath, languishing half-dead. This is the Lockhart goo. Anyone bitten by the Lockhart goo will fall in love with its host. My grandmother said before she passed away that our ancestor was just a destitute cultivator, but it was by a stroke of luck he obtained this Lockhart goo, which made one fairy after another fall for him, enabling him to eventually become a nascent soul immortal. The exuberant young man said. Then, he set the jar down and began to form a spiritual art with his hands, dripping a drop of his essence blood from his fingertips. Upon sight of fresh blood, the previously listless blood-red goo worm suddenly sprang to life, licking the droplet hungrily. Its body turned even more brilliantly translucent, resembling a piece of bright blood jade. "Come, little fellow." The skinny young man watched as the blood-red goo worm finished licking up his essence blood, pulled out a dagger, and made a cut on his palm. Then the goo worm burrowed straight into the flesh of his palm. The Lockhart goo can bind at most 3 people, and they cannot be much higher in cultivation than oneself. It was because our ancestor got too greedy that the Lockhart goo became ineffective, leading his numerous wives to strike him down in anger, which ultimately led to his tragic death. Therefore, I must use it with utmost caution and choose the targets carefully. The skinny young man gazed at the Lockhart goo in his palm, muttering to himself. He visualized a handsome and tall young man in his mind. In the blink of an eye, another 2 months had passed. In that time, Lu Changsheng's life remained steady, with no significant changes. Thinking about his 2 wives who had come with him from Qingzhou Mountain, it was almost time for them to return. They had been nurturing their pregnancies for over half a year, and Lu Changsheng paid them extra attention to ensure both women conceived successfully. Xiao Yuyao also conceived her second child with his favor, bringing the total number of his children to 58. On the 3rd floor of the spiritual talisman shop, Lu Changxing was assembling a humanoid puppet. The puppet was nearly 2 meters tall, pitch black all over, gleaming with a metallic luster. One arm held a sword, the other a shield, and it bore 5 black javelins on its back. If there are any extra magic artifacts in the future, they could also be directly installed on this puppet, though it won't be able to unleash the full power of the magic artifacts. The effect won't be too far off. Chapter 156, Baby Birth Lottery. Reset. Lu Changxing inspected the puppet he had installed, appraising it. Puppets weren't as strictly confined as talisman making. After understanding the principles, one could flexibly modify certain minor areas depending on the situation. Then, Lu Changxing removed the golden heart protecting mirror from the chest of the puppet. Inside was hollow, being the core of the puppet's spiritual control mechanism. If the core were damaged, the puppet would be wasted, necessitating major repairs. Lu Changxing took out a spiritual pattern carving knife and, infusing it with spiritual power, slowly traced over the puppet's chest core. He needed to activate all the spiritual patterns and formations on the puppet's body, linking them together. This was the final step and also the most critical one. If he failed, he would have to check the other part's spiritual pattern formations again, re-engrave, and reassemble. During this process, Lu Changxing was extremely focused. Each time the carving knife landed, it was precise and deliberate. Time passed by slowly. Finally, Lu Changxing completed the last stroke. He then poured a jar of thickly mixed spiritual liquid into it and embedded 10 spirit stones. In that moment, the entire puppet's surface shimmered with spiritual light. Pattern after pattern emerged, ancient and mysterious, emitting a faint spiritual pressure. Phew, it's finally a success. Lu Changxing looked at the metal puppet before him, revealing a tired smile on his face. To construct this second-rank puppet, it had taken him a total of over 4 months. Now that it was complete, he felt a considerable sense of achievement. Immediately, Lu Changxing performed the puppet control technique to take charge of the puppet in front of him. Instantly, the puppet's surface glowed with a faint luster like that of ink jade, and a humming sound emanated from within. It was as if a war machine was awakening, spreading a terrifying spiritual pressure. His mental spirit nudged slightly. Whoosh! The puppet, holding the black gold long knife, made a fierce slash forward, the blade like thunder and lightning, seemingly tearing the air apart. It looks alright, but this place is too small to test the real strength of this second-rank puppet. With too much force, the house might just collapse, said Lu Changxing, smacking his lips and shaking his head. The puppet before him was the second-rank lower-grade humanoid combat puppet he had intended to build. It was a puppet designed for close combat, combining offense and defense. However, despite its emphasis on melee, that doesn't mean it lacked ranged attacks. The 5 javelins on its back could be launched over long distances. Each strike was comparable to a hit from an early-phase Foundation establishment cultivator. For a Qi refinement realm cultivator facing this puppet, if they were too slow to escape, it almost guaranteed a dead end. As for facing a Foundation establishment great cultivator, one could only say, unless they were old and frail, just coming out of a battle, or had exhausted all their skills, a Foundation building great cultivator Otherwise, it would be a fool's dream to rely on a single puppet to defeat a foundation-building great cultivator. After all, anyone who could achieve the status of a foundation-building great cultivator was no simple individual. None were devoid of remarkable abilities. However, to allow this puppet to unleash its full strength and sustain combat, it requires embedding middle-grade spirit stones, or even superior-grade spirit stones. 10 lower-grade spirit stones simply can't sustain its continuous outbursts, Lu Changxing mused as he assessed the puppet before him, stroking his chin. This puppet, although it had a spirit-gathering formation for storing spiritual energy, had a limited capacity and couldn't sustain long periods of combat. To operate for extended durations and engage in lengthy battles, it absolutely depended on spirit stones for sustenance. Let's leave it like this for now. When I have spirit stones, I'll exchange for 10 middle-grade spirit stones, Lu Changxing silently decided, not feeling too distressed about it. It was not like he was going to skimp on 10 middle-grade spirit stones when he had already constructed a second-rank puppet, even though embedding 10 middle-grade spirit stones did indeed feel somewhat excessive. Converted to lower-grade spirit stones, that would be a full 1,000. But he wouldn't use this second-rank puppet often, so it wouldn't consume spirit stones. In the event of an extended period of operational combat, it would be during a crisis where his life was at stake, and he couldn't skimp on this expense. 9 days later, the second elder was about to return to the Lu family and sent someone to inform Lu Changxing. Knowing that the flying boat could seat 3 people, Lu Changxing decided to take 2 of his wives and Jiang Luiyue back with him. He had Jiang Luiyue return to teach the children martial arts. When the second elder saw that Lu Changxing had another wife, and they were all pregnant or holding babies, he couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. He wanted to offer a few words of advice, but didn't quite know what to say, only reminding Lu Changxing to take it easy with the children and to pay more attention to his health. In his heart, he resolved to let the 4th elder discuss this matter with Lu Changxing, worried that if Lu Changxing kept on like this, he seriously feared the man might ruin his health. A day and a half later, the flying boat smoothly returned to Qingzhou Mountain. After getting home, Lu Changxing talked with his wives about Jiang Luiyue teaching martial arts to their children. The wives understood. Knowing that their children lacked a spiritual root, it was good for them to learn martial arts in preparation for life in the secular world. If nothing else, practicing martial arts would at least strengthen their bodies and keep them healthy, but seeing that Jiang Luiyue was also pregnant, the wives couldn't help but silently criticize their husband, who didn't even spare their children's teacher. After staying on Qingzhou Mountain for 3 days, during which Lu Changxing, under the guidance of the 4th elder in talisman making, displayed his progress in talisman making, he began learning about superior-grade talismans. This was in line with his previous plans. By the next visit, he would be able to naturally reveal his status as a superior-grade talisman master. At the same time, he also paid a visit to Li Feiyu, chatting with him about coming to teach his children martial arts. According to his plans, the first batch of children would be sent to the secular world in 2 to 3 years, and now, asking Li Feiyu to teach them martial arts, as well as some worldly knowledge and experience, would bring some benefits to the children. Chapter 157, Baby Birth Lottery. Reset. Facing Lu Changxing's request, Li Feiyu readily agreed. But just as Lu Changxing had guessed, Li Feiyu indicated that he had agreed early on to teach them martial arts. Moreover, when teaching his own nephew and niece, how could he accept money? Finally, under Lu Changxing's persistent persuasion, he accepted a fee of 5 spirit stones per month. Then 3 days passed. Lu Changxing left with the second elder. At the time of departure, Lu Changxing had intended to start his plan to raise the 9 Netherhound. But he found that the 9 Netherhound had already integrated into the family. All the children in the family liked the 9 Netherhound very much. If he were to take the 9 Netherhound away, the children would probably cry for several days. After some thought, Lu Changxing decided to continue raising the 9 Netherhound at home. After all, being able to help with the children was already a significant role. It was somewhat unfair for a demon beast with a heavenly grade bloodline to merely accompany the children. And on this trip back to the 9 Dragons Market, Lu Changxing also took Lu Zier and Lu Qing'e, the sisters, with him. Taking the 2 girls out for fun, to relax a bit. When the two girls arrived at the Nine Dragons Market and saw the group of lively and lovely women in Lu Changsheng's courtyard, they too were rather surprised. Although they did not mind Lu Changsheng taking wives and concubines, they even found such behavior normal. But while other people occasionally doted on their wives and concubines, favoring maids, many wives might only be favored a few times a year. Yet Lu Changsheng was generous with his affection. Each would occasionally be favored enough to conceive children. If it were not for Lu Changsheng's strong and healthy appearance at night, they would actually be worried about their husband's health. A month later, within the spiritual talisman shop, Lu Changsheng was meditating and cultivating. With the automatic cultivation of the Immortal beauty technique and the improvement from the peach blossom goo, his appearance became more and more handsome. The whole person sat with closed eyes, looking tranquil and out of the dust, emanating an aura of spring breeze and calm detachment. After a long while. At this rate, I think it will still take 6 or 7 years to reach the pinnacle of the 7th level energy refinement. It's really too slow, and I have no idea when I can draw a cultivation technique to replace this returning origin technique. Lu Changsheng opened his eyes to inspect his Qi ocean core internally, looking at that lake of spiritual energy within and couldn't help but sigh. He persisted in meditating for 2 hours every day, assisted by yellow dragon elixir and energy refining powder. But the progress was still not satisfactory. Aside from the cultivation time and his spiritual root, Lu Changsheng believed the biggest problem was still the returning origin technique he was practicing. This primary level technique was too balanced and stable, leading to a very slow cultivation progress. Just then, quite abruptly, a profound and mysterious trembling arose within Lu Changsheng. It was the familiar tremor of the spiritual root. A child with a spiritual root was born, bringing him an additional bonus. Simultaneously, a system alert sounded. Congratulations to the host for the birth of 7 children with spiritual roots. You have won a chance to draw a prize. Is it Yuner or Zenshin's child? With that tremor and the system alert, excitement and surprise immediately appeared in Lu Changsheng's eyes. Based on the timing, he immediately guessed that it must be Chu Zhenjin or Lu Miao's child being born. If it's Miao's child, then I as a husband have really been negligent. Lu Changsheng thought about the previous times when Lu Miaoyun was giving birth and he was not by her side. If this child was also Lu Miao's and again he was not there, it would indeed be somewhat negligent. Sigh. Lu Changsheng shook his head and let out a long breath, calming his mood slightly. He felt that the spiritual root of this child was probably not very good. The enhancement it brought him was minuscule. It was very likely to be a 9th grade spiritual root. But this was normal. The parent's spiritual roots could affect the child's spiritual root, but it only relatively increased the upper limit of the child's spiritual root. It was not that if the parent's spiritual roots were good, the child's would definitely be better. Many children's spiritual roots were not as good as their parents', or they might not even have one. 7 children with spiritual roots, could it be that for children with spiritual roots, you get 2 shares of child money at once? Lu Changsheng thought about the system's drawing rules, musing to himself. Without further conjecture, Lu Changsheng thought to himself, "System, I want to draw a prize." Immediately, a pale red lottery wheel from the system appeared. I hope for a cultivation technique. Looking at the lottery wheel before him, Lu Changsheng silently wished. Then, with a mere thought, he began the drawing process. On the wheel, a streak of golden light emerged, swiftly spinning. After a few seconds, the wheel began to slow down and eventually stopped on elixir medicines. Chapter 158. These days are indeed full of hope. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a 3rd-stage life-extending pill. The reward has been distributed to the system space, and the host can check it at any time. An image of a pill emerged from the big wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Life-extending pill? Lu Changsheng furrowed his eyebrows upon seeing the reward. He was, of course, aware of what life-extending pills were. They were a type of elixir medicine that was extremely rare in the cultivation world. As the name suggested, they could extend one's lifespan after consumption. A first-grade life-extending pill could extend life by 5 to 10 years. A second-rank life-extending pill could extend life by 10 to 20 years. A third-stage life-extending pill could extend life by 30 to 50 years. The reason for such a large variance in life extension was partly due to the quality of the elixir medicine. Another factor was based on the physical condition of the user. For an elderly person who had already exhausted their potential, even if they took a life-extending pill, the effect would be significantly less. After all, a life-extending pill just extends life. It's not a resuscitation or life-renewing elixir medicine. I'm still young with a long life ahead of me. Getting such a pill really feels like a bit of a white elephant. But no matter who would complain about too much life. If I have a long life, it also reminds me to take things steadily. I don't have much, but I have time and plenty of days ahead. Although life-extending pills were rare and precious, Lu Changxing didn't feel too excited about this reward. After all, compared to the other items he had drawn, the life-extending pill seemed somewhat insignificant. Then, Lu Changxing looked at the third-stage life-extending pill in the system space. Elixir medicine, life-extending pill. Quality, third stage. Description: after consumption, one's lifespan can be increased by 30 to 50 years. Only the first pill of the same rank is effective. As expected, it's the same as I know it to be. Even if it's a system product, there can't be too much of a difference. That said, if I were to sell this life-extending pill, couldn't it fetch tens of thousands of spirit stones at least? Lu Changxing thought to himself as he looked at the pill. But that was just a thought. Life-extending pills were extremely rare and essentially priceless. They could usually only be seen in auctions. And even there, what were often available were first and second-rank life-extending pills. Lu Changxing had never heard of a third-stage life-extending pill being sold anywhere. So, even if he wanted to sell it, it would be difficult and not without fear of attracting trouble. Retrieve. Lu Changxing extracted the pill from the system space. Instantly, a brownish-green pill that was lustrous, full, and exuded a rich scent of life appeared in front of Lu Changxing. There were also faint silver patterns on the pill. So this is a life-extending pill. Lu Changxing examined the pill in his hand. It was his first time seeing one. It didn't look particularly special, but the presence of the pill patterns on it let him know that this was a top-quality life-extending pill. Because only elixir medicines of excellent quality would have pill patterns. The more pill patterns there were, the better the quality of the elixir medicine and the less elixir toxicity it contained. This life-extending pill had 3 pill patterns, signifying it was among the top tier of medicines. It could only be said that system space products were certainly of fine quality. Guaranteed in quality, they instilled confidence in those who consumed them. Without looking further, Lu Changxing swallowed the life-extending pill. The taste of the pill wasn't particularly pleasant. As he swallowed it, it transformed into an immensely pure and abundant vitality that spread within Lu Changxing. It filled him with so much energy and vitality that he felt an inexhaustible strength. At the same time, it brought an indescribably soothing comfort throughout his body, making him let out an involuntary sigh of relief. This medicinal power diffused within Lu Changxing, washing over his flesh, meridians, bones, dantian, rejuvenating every part of him, causing his body to shine with spiritual light, as if it was brimming with new life. For a long while, the effects of the life-extending pill dissipated. Phew! Lu Changxing opened his eyes and let out a long, eased breath. He just felt full of energy, invigorated to his core, refreshed and like he had been reborn. Does this life-extending pill also revitalize and strengthen the body besides extending life? Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised by the effects of the pill. He had been practicing the 100 refinements treasure body art, making his physical body naturally extraordinary. But the recent life-extending pill had indeed made his body feel relaxed and rejuvenated, as if reborn. Could it be that I've overindulged over the years, incurring deficits and damaging my lifespan? Or does an increase in lifespan naturally bring about a richer vitality and more abundant energy? Lu Changxing pondered internally, unclear about the exact reason. After all, the physical body is one thing, and lifespan is another. He didn't dwell on it too long, knowing it to be a good thing for him. He then closed his eyes to sense the changes to his lifespan. My lifespan, has it increased by 50 years? Lu Changxing muttered to himself. He had no way to be sure of the exact number of years his lifespan had increased. But he had a vague sense that his lifespan had been extended by 50 years. This intuition was quite mysterious. He couldn't really explain it himself. Cultivators at the Qi refinement realm, as long as they don't engage in conflict and maintain their health well, can generally live past 100 years. If one breaks through to the energy refinement late stage, they can live for a couple of jiazi, that's around 120 years. As for someone like me, who never fights with others and knows how to maintain health, living to 120 should be a breeze. Now, with this life-extending pill adding 50 years to my life, it means I could live up to 170 years, almost the lifespan of a foundation establishment cultivator. If in the future I get another first-grade and second-rank life-extending pill, wouldn't I be able to live up to 200 years, on par with a foundation establishment great cultivator? No, by then I will have achieved foundation establishment myself and with the help of life-extending pills, could live for 300 years. Chapter 159. These days are indeed full of hope. Reset. In over 300 years, I could have at least 1,000 children. By then, as long as the children work hard and make me proud, won't I just be lying down to achieve core formation? After core formation with a lifespan of 500 years and an extra 100 years from lifespan extension pills, forming a nascent soul shouldn't be a big problem, right? Nascent soul true lord, TSK. In this Jiang country cultivation realm, a nascent soul true lord is a dominant presence. Even looking at the entire southern wilderness cultivation realm, nascent soul true lords are rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Life is indeed full of things to look forward to. But with such a long lifespan, what am I going to do with my time? I can't just stay home and keep having kids every day, can I? Lu Changxing suddenly found himself in a happy predicament. Before he knew it, over a month had passed. During this time, Guan Xian and the maid Yi Lian became pregnant. And Yun Qianxian's child was also born. However, this child did not have a spiritual root. Lu Changxing wasn't disappointed by this. Now that he had many wives and concubines, many of whom possessed spiritual roots, they had all virtually had a turn giving birth. Thus, his excitement over spiritual root-bearing wives and concubines having children had gradually diminished. He could now look at it all with a normal heart. After the child was born, Lu Changxing took Yun Qianxian and the child to report the good news to Yu Maoqing and his wife. After all, not only were they Yun Qianxian's elders, they were also their matchmakers. Now that the child was born, it was only natural to pay them a visit. On hearing the joyful news, they were delighted and even hosted a small celebration with 2 tables at the Jade Meal Hall. In the meantime, Yu Ningrong shared a piece of inside information with Lu Changxing. She said that the Lu family ancestor had at most 10 years to live. These words gave Lu Changxing a momentary pause. Previously, when he was in the Lu family, he had vaguely heard that the Lu family ancestor was not in good health. Now that Yu Ningrong was saying this, it felt very likely to be true. This indicated that the situation for the Lu family was not optimistic. If no new foundation-building great cultivator emerges in the Lu family before the Lu family ancestor's demise, safeguarding the spiritual vein of Qingzhou Mountain will be very difficult. Lu Changxing thought to himself. In the cultivation world, a spiritual vein-blessed land is very important. Many loose cultivators dream of owning their own spiritual vein-blessed land, which is also considered a way to establish oneself in the cultivation world. If the Lu family ancestor dies and the deterrent is gone, Qingzhou Mountain will become a big juicy piece of meat, and everyone will want to take a bite. Without going far, the Chen family of Red Leaf Valley, the Lu family's sworn enemy, will not miss this opportunity. Lu Changxing didn't give it much thought. These were not matters he could concern himself with. If the Lu family ancestor really runs into trouble and the Lu family faces a crisis, he will naturally contribute where he can. If he can't help, then he'll have to take his wives, concubines, and children and flee. After all, he is just the son-in-law of the Lu family, not one of their own. He keeps the Lu family's kindness in mind. But he won't risk his life for the Lu family. He also doesn't have the capability for that. Half a month later, Lu Changxing received a letter from Qingzhou Mountain. This came as a surprise to him. After all, he used to visit once a month. Now he only returns once every 6 months. So, normally, there wouldn't be any correspondence. Moreover, the letter was delivered using urgent avian messenger service. Lu Changxing opened the letter. It was from Lu Miaoyun. In the letter, Lu Miaoyun said that something happened at home and he needed to come back to handle it. The incident began when Lu Pingon and a few little ones were playing outside with a 9 netherhound. A member of the Lu family named Lu Miaoyang, seeing the 9 netherhound, was filled with greed. Seeing that Lu Pingon and the others were young, he thought about tricking them into giving up the 9 netherhound. Lu Pingon and the others, although young, were not foolish and quickly saw through the ruse. This caused the other party to become furiously embarrassed and attempt to lay hands on Lu Pingon. In such a situation, how could the 9 netherhound just watch its little master get hurt? It fiercely intervened and severely injured the Lu family member. Immediately, the incident blew up. In a cultivation family like the Lu family, the first rule is a strict ban on fighting. Family disciples, under no circumstances, may engage in private feuds or conflicts, or raise their hands against others. If there are any unsolvable resentments or differences, they can be reported directly to the family. Then the family head or the elders can manage and resolve them, although the trouble was initially caused by the other party. But now that he had been severely injured by a 9 netherhound, according to the Lu family clan rules, Lu Changxing was also responsible. Especially since this Lu family disciple named Lu Miaoyang had a rather special situation. He was a direct descendant of the Lu family. Both his parents were core members of the Lu family. However, 10 years ago, Lu Miaoyang's parents perished together in a great battle between the Lu family and the Chen family. Now, only he remained in his household. The Lu family had always felt indebted to him and provided compensation. Now, with this incident, he went directly to the family head, weeping and complaining, making a big fuss. The family head, faced with such a situation, was helpless and thus had Lu Miaoyun send a message to Lu Changxing, asking how he planned to deal with it. If he could resolve it privately, that would be for the best. Though Lu Miaoyang had unclean motives to begin with, the fact that the 9 netherhound had bitten someone and caused severe injuries was indeed a violation of the Lu family's clan rules. If they were to follow the clan rules, there would be punishment for Lu Changxing's side. The family head hoped Lu Changxing would understand. Although I had long anticipated that this day would come, I didn't expect it so soon, Lu Changxing said, shaking his head slightly. He had known for a long time that as his wives and children increased, these wives and children would inevitably cause trouble for him, the head of the family. He would need to solve and clean up after these troubles. He had also realized that as the 9 netherhound grew, it became increasingly extraordinary and could potentially become a target for others. But this cannot be blamed on Pingon and the others. It was Lu Miaoyang who sought trouble first. I had also instructed the 9 netherhound not to harm people. Now that Lu Miaoyang has been bitten, it shows that he brought it upon himself. Lu Changxing exhaled lightly. During his many years in the Lu family, he had heard of someone like Lu Miaoyang. He had a bad reputation. He was known for his unruly character. Relying on his parents' legacy and the love of the Lu family ancestor, he had caused quite a few problems within the Lu family. He never thought that his own family would become entangled with such a person. Considering the Lu family's image, if it's just a matter of paying some money to settle it privately, let's try to settle it that way. After reading the letter, Lu Changxing exhaled slowly, deciding on his course of action. If the other party was willing to let the matter go without making a fuss, he was willing to pay to settle the problem in consideration of the Lu family's reputation. If the other party was to make unreasonable demands, he couldn't possibly just comply. After all, the Lu family owed Lu Miaoyang, but he owed him nothing. Moreover, in Lu Changsheng's view, although the 9 Netherhound had caused severe injury, the beast wasn't to blame. You couldn't possibly still lecture me about excessive defense after traversing to a new world, could you? Lucky for him that this happened within the Lu family. If it had happened outside, dealing with such a matter by killing the other party wouldn't have been too much. After all, the cultivation world is a jungle where the strong prey on the weak. The other party coveted his pet beasts and lured his children. How could there be any reason for that? Furthermore, he had always behaved properly, walking on thin ice and abiding by the rules, for fear of causing trouble. Now that he had gained some strength and confidence, if he continued to shrink back in the face of trouble, then what was the point of his efforts in cultivation? With the increase in strength, a few more ounces of confidence grew in his heart, and Lu Changsheng's attitude also shifted. He was unwilling to be as compromising as before, suffering injustices. His willingness to visit and resolve the matter was already in consideration of the Lu family's face. Immediately, Lu Changsheng put away the letter, went to the courtyard, and spoke to a group of wives. There's a small matter at home, I need to go back. He didn't want to delay. He planned to set off for Qingzhou Mountain right away and deal with the issue sooner rather than later. Husband, are you rushing back because something happened at home? Lu Qing'er knew that Lu Changsheng usually returned home once every 6 months. His sudden return must mean that something had happened. It's just a small family matter that requires me to make a trip back, said Lu Changsheng with a smile. Then he turned to Xiao Qing and instructed, Xiao Qing, go to the spiritual talisman shop tomorrow and convey a message to Zhang Shan for me. Tell him I had to leave due to urgent matters and that he should look after the shop. Yes, young master, replied Xiao Qing obediently, noting. She often visited the spiritual talisman shop, so she was acquainted with shopkeeper Zhang Shan. Having finished giving instructions, Lu Changsheng then left the 9 Dragons marketplace. He took out an iron feather eagle from his spiritual pet bag and flew towards Qingzhou Mountain. Chapter 160, Dog-like Thing. Reset, _ 2 days later. Outside Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Changsheng descended from the iron feather eagle and immediately strode towards his home. Changsheng brother. Brother Changsheng. Brother-in-law. Many Lu family disciples greeted Lu Changsheng as they saw him on the road. In the face of such greetings, even if he did not know them, Lu Changsheng wore a smile and exchanged pleasantries graciously. Lu Changsheng must have returned this time because of Lu Miaoyang's incident. Surely, a few days ago, Miaoyang brother was bitten by Changsheng brother's pet beast, and it caused quite a commotion. Naturally, they would require Changsheng brother to come back and deal with it. Who knows how this matter will end up? I, for one, hope that Lu Changsheng can teach Lu Miaoyang a lesson. So do I. My father bought a shop from him 3 years ago, and after all this time, he came back, reneged, and made a fuss. In the end, my father even had to give him spirit stones to settle it down. Alas, there's no helping it. After all, both of Miaoyang brother's parents died in battle for the family, and the family owes him. Changsheng brother-in-law is a talisman master and is also the son-in-law of the 4th elder. If he really comes to blows with Lu Miaoyang, he has nothing to fear. It's not so simple. What if Lu Miaoyang throws a tantrum and refuses to be reasonable? What can Lu Changsheng do? Lu Changsheng is too nice by nature, always polite and accommodating, and he wouldn't want to offend anyone. In the end, he'll probably just want to keep the peace. You might be right about that. A group of Lu family disciples began discussing amongst themselves after they saw Lu Changsheng leave. They were curious about how the situation between Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoyang would be resolved. Lu Changsheng was not aware of, nor did he care about these discussions, and he continued on his way home briskly. Husband. Lu Miaoyun rushed over as soon as she heard of Lu Changsheng's return. A look of guilt and self-reproach colored her face. In her view, with such a situation having unfolded at home, she, as the legitimate wife, bore some responsibility. After all, she normally managed the domestic affairs of the household. Yunner, what's this? Your face is full of self-reproach. Lu Changxing immediately took Lu Miaoyang's hand, smiling as he spoke. My place is at home, yet I allowed such a thing to happen. And it has caused you, husband, to make a special trip back. Lu Miaoyan spoke with a tone of deep self-blame. Why blame yourself? It's not your fault. I'll handle this matter. Besides, you have had a difficult time these days. Lu Changxing cradled Lu Miaoyang's delicate face, speaking warmly. How could he possibly blame Lu Miaoyan for this situation? How could he say she had not properly supervised the children in the house? In his view, the incident was entirely provoked by Lu Miaoyang. It had nothing to do with his own family. Moreover, Lu Pingan and the others were all quite grown up now. They hardly needed adults to watch over them anymore. If one really had to supervise them, with so many children in the house, it would have been impossible to keep an eye on all of them. I came back this time, partly to check on you and the children. You know, you've given birth to the child without me by your side. I should be the one feeling guilty. Lu Changxing did not immediately inquire about Lu Miaoyang but rather showed concern for his wife. After all, his wife had recently given birth to their child, during which he was not present. Now that he was back, it was only right to show care and ask about her well-being. Husband, you're always busy with your duties. Lu Miaoyan was visibly moved, her eyes brimming with tender affection and love. Let's set the matter aside for now and go see the child first. Yuner, did you have a boy or a girl this time? Lu Changxing stood up and asked. Husband, it is a girl. Lu Miaoyan replied, her face radiating happiness at Lu Changxing's question. A girl is good. She will surely be as adorable as you, Yuner. Lu Changxing laughed as he said this. He wasn't overly concerned with the gender of the child. In his words, he set off with Lu Miaoyan to visit the newborn child. Upon reaching the inner courtyard, Lu Changxing visited the children of Lu Miaoyan and Chu Jinjin. However, looking at the two newborns, he couldn't tell which child possessed the spiritual root. After all, knowing whether a child had the spiritual root entirely depended on the thrill provided by the system's enhancement. And these two children were born around the same time. But after inquiring about the exact birth times of the two children, Lu Changxing knew. The child with the spiritual root was born to Chu Jinjin. Lu Miaoyan's child did not possess the spiritual root. For this, Lu Changxing showed no concern. After all, regardless of which wife or consort bore the child, he strived to treat all equally. Yuner, has the family head mentioned how to deal with Lu Miaoyang's situation? After visiting the child and chatting for a while, Lu Changxing questioned Lu Miaoyan about the incident. He was preparing to deal with the purpose of his return. The family had hopes for a private resolution if possible. Otherwise, according to the family rules, the incident will affect you negatively in any case. But Miaoyang brother is demanding an exorbitant sum, not showing any intention to negotiate, insisting on a compensation of 500 spirit stones and demanding to be given Zaihe as well. Lu Miaoyan pursed her lips, speaking with a hint of indignation. Zaihe was the name Lu Changxing casually gave to the 9 netherhound at home. After all, a humbly named beast is easier to raise. 500 spirit stones, and he even dares to demand Zaihe as compensation. He really has some nerve. Lu Changxing chuckled sarcastically. It wasn't just about being bitten. The life of a chi refinement cultivator isn't worth 500 spirit stones. Out in the world, hiring a desperado wouldn't cost 100 spirit stones to take his life. And the audacity to demand the 9 netherhound is simply delusional. If that's his attitude, Lu Changxing had no desire to negotiate. Grandmother also thinks that Miaoyang brother is overdoing it. So she wanted me to tell you, husband, that it would be best if Miaoyang brother is willing to settle things amicably. Chapter 161. Dog-like thing. Reset. If you don't want to deal with it, my husband, you don't have to bother yourself. Just let the family head handle it according to the clan rules. Lu Miaoyan spoke, saying so. Though Lu Miaoyang was her cousin, they were not from the same branch of the family and weren't particularly close on a regular basis. Moreover, Lu Miaoyang's behavior was generally unpopular, and Lu Miaoyan didn't have a favorable impression of him. Lu Changxing felt a warmth in his heart when he heard this. He also knew that in recent days, Lu Miaoyun and the fourth elder had been worrying about this matter. If it comes to dealing with it according to the clan rules, what would generally happen? He asked aloud. Such incidents are rare within our family. Even if there are disputes, they're usually limited to verbal arguments. It's rare for someone to take action and cause serious injury. So this situation is quite serious. Not only will there be a fine of spirit stones, but the offender will also be sent to perform hard labor. However, grandmother said that since my husband is a talisman master, the family will certainly not send you to perform hard labor. Even if it's settled by the clan rules, it will just be a matter of paying extra spirit stones and a slight reprimand. Lu Miaoyun considered for a moment before speaking thus. In the past few days at home, she naturally hadn't sat by idly. She had even approached Lu Miaoyang, offering to compensate with spirit stones, hoping the other party would agree to a reconciliation. But he was relentless and demanded the 9 netherhound as compensation. Lu Miaoyun, of course, wouldn't agree to such an unreasonable demand. It wasn't just because the 9 netherhound was a pet raised by Lu Changxing. The extraordinary qualities of the 9 netherhound alone wouldn't allow for such a course of action. All right, I understand. Then he'll go talk to Lu Miaoyang again to see if he is willing to make amends. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing more or less understood the situation. Reconciliation would of course be best, otherwise the matter would have to be settled according to the clan rules. Even if it came to a clan ruling, his side would likely suffer a slight loss. Since both Lu Yuanding and the fourth elder had expressed their hope for him to try for a reconciliation, he would have to go through the motions, if only as a formality. My husband, he'll accompany you there, Lu Miaoyun immediately said. No need, I can go by myself. Lu Changxing waved his hand and said, Can you tell me where Lu Miaoyang lives? Lu Miaoyun did not insist and described the location of Lu Miaoyang's residence to Lu Changxing. Just when Lu Changxing was about to leave, Lu Lanshu came along with Lu Pingan, Lu Wuyu, and Lu Shila, a few of the little ones, to see Lu Changxing. This matter involved the youngsters, and had caused such a stir that Lu Changxing, as the head of the family, had come back. Lu Lanshu, as their mother, naturally brought the little ones to see Lu Changxing. At the moment, the little ones were looking at Lu Changxing with some evasion in their eyes, slightly bowing their heads, obviously aware that they had caused trouble. What's with you all? The matter is not your fault. Why are you looking like this? Seeing this, Lu Changxing chuckled. He crouched down and gently ruffled the children's hair, speaking softly. As far as he was concerned, the matter was certainly not the children's fault. How could he scold them? And seeing how the children looked, he guessed that Lu Lanshu had also chided them. Dad, you're not blaming us? Upon hearing this, Lu Pingan looked up at Lu Changxing and mumbled. The other little ones also looked at Lu Changxing. Why should I blame you? Lu Changxing laughed. We caused trouble for you, Dad, Lu Pingan said. Was this trouble something you brought upon yourselves? Lu Changxing asked. Not at all, it was that mean person who wanted to snatch Xiaohe, and he called names. Lu Shila immediately complained indignantly. That's clear then. If he wanted to snatch Xiaohe and also resorted to insults, then the fault lies with him. Dad has always taught you to avoid trouble and keep out of it, but that doesn't mean we should be afraid of it. If trouble comes our way, leave it to Dad to handle, Lu Changxing said in a gentle tone. He also realized that in some respects, he hadn't taught them well. Thinking that the children should grow up safely and securely in the mortal world, he had instilled in them the idea of staying out of trouble whenever possible. Besides, the children were mostly raised by their mothers. Lu Miaoyun was not too bad, but Lu Lanshu and the other wives were worldly women of the Lu family. Coming to Qingzhou Mountain, they ultimately felt some restraint. Even though his status as a husband had improved, they still felt somewhat inferior in Qingzhou Valley. So they had always told the children not to cause trouble or stir up issues, which would inevitably affect them. If the Lu family ancestor were to live another 10 years, I'm guessing the Lu family would face turmoil in about 5 or 6 years. If I were to flee, I would have to ensure my wives and children are well settled. Pingan and the others are almost of age. They can be sent to the mortal world in a year or two, where education must be properly arranged. Otherwise, if things continue this way, There could be problems with the children's education, Lu Changsheng pondered inwardly. He had always been conscious of issues regarding the children's education. While he didn't exactly resonate with the saying born in the deep palace and raised by women's hands, he was very clear in his heart. Given the rate at which he was fathering children, with so many in tow, leaving them in their mother's care was likely to breed problems. He had to have a complete training and education system for the children. But now, being in Nine Dragons Market with a pile of daily affairs, plus having so many children, he truly was too busy to manage their education. Moreover, Lu Changxing did not believe that his own teaching was necessarily correct or that he could do it well. His actions and thoughts were heavily influenced by his previous life, and having lived in this world for many years, he was gradually merging with its dog-eat-dog moral rules. Chapter 162, Dog-like Thing. Reset. It may not necessarily be suitable for educating one's own child. Therefore, Lu Changsheng prepared to establish a child education system within the secular world, and then gradually perfect it. Dad, I understand. Lu Pingon immediately nodded vigorously. Thank you, Father. Dad is the best. The two little ones beside him, Lu Wuyo and Lu Shila, immediately smiled happily and gave Lu Changxing a kiss. Ah, if Dad isn't good to you, then who am I good to? Lu Changxing also wore a full smile. The birth of these children, although due to his own selfishness and utilitarian purposes, had now also become one of his motivations to strive hard. Did you get hurt at the time? At this moment, Lu Changxing suddenly remembered what Lu Miaoyan had written in her letter, that Lu Miaoyang, in a fit of shameful rage, intended to harm the children, and that was when the Nine Netherhound intervened. He was cursing at people, and when Brother Pingon called him out on it, he lifted Brother Pingon up, and Xiaohei bit him. Lu Shila immediately said, Pingon, he even laid hands on you? Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly as he spoke in a gentle voice. Originally, he had thought about settling the matter amicably for the sake of the Lu family's face. After all, maintaining peace is best. But now, hearing that Lu Miaoyang had laid hands on his own children, he was not willing to let it go. This matter was clearly not his fault to begin with. It was Lu Miaoyang who had actively sought trouble. And in seeking trouble, he bullied his own children and expected him to apologize? How unreasonable. Dad, I'm fine. Lu Pingon scratched his head and grinned. That's good then. If something like this happens again in the future, just come and tell Dad. Lu Changxing nodded slightly upon hearing these words. If Lu Miaoyang had actually injured Lu Pingon, then the matter would be a different story. I got it, Dad. The young ones said with beaming smiles. After making sure the children were happy and letting them go play, Lu Changxing excused himself to his wives and concubines and went out to find Lu Miaoyang. A quarter of an hour later, Lu Changxing arrived in front of an estate. I am Lu Changxing, here to see Lu Miaoyang. Lu Changxing knocked on the door and spoke to the butler who opened it. So it is young Master Changxing, please come in. There weren't many people in Qingzhou Valley, and this butler naturally recognized Lu Changxing and promptly invited him inside. After ushering Lu Changxing into the hall and serving him tea, the butler politely said, Young Master Changxing, please wait a moment while I fetch young Master Yang. Thank you. Lu Changxing responded with a slight nod. Inside a courtyard within the estate, a young man wrapped in bandages lay on a lounge chair. A beautiful woman beside him was tenderly feeding him fruits. Young Master Yang, Lu Changxing has come seeking you. At this moment, the butler came to the courtyard and announced. Oh! Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoyang, who lay on the chair, indifferently replied, Fine, bring him over. Young Master Yang, is this really appropriate? The butler questioned. Having a guest come straight to a small courtyard clearly went against the principle of proper hospitality. Are you teaching me how to handle my affairs? Lu Miaoyang's tone cooled several degrees. Yes. The butler, recognizing the temperament of his young master, said no more and merely sighed softly. Shortly after, the butler returned to the hall. Young Master Changxing, My young master Yang is injured and movement is somewhat inconvenient for him. Would you please join him in the small courtyard for a chat? The butler bowed slightly and spoke politely. All right. Lu Changsheng chuckled lightly upon hearing this. Young Master Changsheng, this way please. The butler maintained his courteous demeanor. Following the butler, Lu Changsheng arrived at a tranquil courtyard where the architecture was adorned with swaying bamboo. As he walked into the courtyard, he immediately saw a young man being served spirit fruits while reclining in his chair. Although he had not met the person before, Lu Changsheng knew that this must be Lu Miang. Young Master Yang, young Master Changsheng has arrived. The butler announced with a bow. Lu Miaoyang hummed softly. Then he propped himself up a little and looked towards Lu Changsheng, his mouth curving upwards as he said, Lu Changsheng, I'm very happy you could come. The family has already reached a public verdict on this matter, and I can't be bothered to argue with you. Your dog has bitten me, and you must hand it over to me for disposal, and also compensate me with 500 spirit stones. Otherwise, this matter won't end peacefully. Lu Miaoyang said with an arrogant air. Lu Changsheng frowned upon hearing this and said, Are you out of your mind? He had come over without any real intention of reconciliation. He thought to just go through the motions to see how the other party would react. Now facing Lu Miaoyang's haughty attitude, Lu Changsheng couldn't help but want to teach him a lesson. After all, since the 9 Netherhound had bitten someone and a person was injured, the family rules called for judgment. Therefore, if he beat him up, it wouldn't matter at this point. Lu Miaoyang was caught off guard, and his face turned dark as he said, Lu Changsheng, what do you mean by that? I'm saying that you must have a problem in your head. And also, when did I ever say that I came to apologize and make amends with you? Lu Changsheng stepped forward, his tone indifferent. At these words, Lu Miaoyang's eyes bulged, and his face turned a mix of blue and red. He hadn't expected Lu Changsheng to dare talk to him in such a manner. Furiously, he slapped the armrest and stood up, bellowing, Lu Changsheng, how dare you speak to me like this? You are nothing but an in-law of the Lu family. Without us taking you in, who knows where you'd be? You really think becoming a son-in-law of the Lu family makes you a phoenix on a branch? Daring to speak to me in such a way. However, before he could finish speaking, Lu Changsheng had already approached him. Without giving him a chance to react, he reached out with a hand swift as thunder and latched onto Lu Miaoyang's neck, hoisting him high up in the air. Chapter 163, Dog-like Thing. With a swift raise of his right hand, he fiercely slapped Lu Miaoyang across the face with a loud smack. To talk to you like this? And just who do you think you are? Like a dog, not only do I dare to speak to you this way, but I dare to hit you. To bully my son and act so arrogantly, expecting me to apologize to you, do you really think I, Lu Changsheng, am someone people can push around? With every word, Lu Changsheng's palms relentlessly struck out. His cultivation of the 100 refinements treasure body art was not in vain. With each slap, resounding with sharp smacks, Lu Miaoyang saw stars, and he groaned in pain. His cheeks visibly turned swiftly from purple to black to red and swollen, with blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. The nearby steward and the beautiful woman were stunned, unable to process the scene before them. They had not expected that upon Lu Changsheng's arrival, he would start hitting their young master without a word, taking him in hand with slaps. Young Master Changsheng, please, no more, spare him. The steward immediately came back to his senses and shouted in horror. He hurried over to Lu Changsheng's side, trying to stop him. With a cold snort, Lu Changsheng ceased his assault and flung Lu Miaoyang to the side with a fierce throw. Thump! Lu Miaoyang hit the ground hard, letting out a muffled groan, his face swollen and bruised black and red, spitting out teeth and blood. To bully a child at your age, to lay hands on a 6 or 7-year-old child, how utterly shameless. Since no one has disciplined you before, then let me teach you a lesson. With an indifferent expression, Lu Changsheng gazed down from above at Lu Miaoyang sprawled on the ground, rebuking him coldly. Lu Miaoyang was completely stunned by Lu Changsheng's slaps. He never could have anticipated that Lu Changxing would disrespect him like this and actually strike him. If it weren't for the burning pain on his face and body, he would have thought himself to be dreaming. At this moment, a mix of unspeakable humiliation, frustration, and rage surged up, leaving his body trembling. His eyes became bloodshot, and with a shaky voice, he roared, "Lu Changxing, I'm going to kill you." As his words fell, a golden flying sword appeared, streaking through the air like a rainbow, its sword chi flickering, hurtling towards Lu Changxing. "Young Master Yang, no, don't do it." The steward, in a panic, shouted when he saw this. As he spoke, spiritual power surged, casting a water shield art to intercept the golden flying sword. But his cultivation was merely at the 4th level of energy refinement. The hastily cast water shield art stood no chance against the sharpness of the flying sword, and it shattered in the blink of an eye. Clang! At the same moment, in a split second, Lu Changxing slapped his storage bag, and his green-faced sword, gleaming like a flash of light, unsheathed to clash with the golden flying sword, sparks flying everywhere, ringing with a metallic clang. "Kill me! My flying sword is not less sharp either." Lu Changxing, maneuvering his flying sword, did not want to reveal his true cultivation level. He took out a stack of talismans from his hand and said with a cold stare at Lu Miaoyang, "Please, young Master Changxing, calm your anger." Seeing this, the steward shouted anxiously, fearing Lu Changxing might start another round of violence. Lu Miaoyang was already injured, with so many talismans in Lu Changxing's hands. If the two truly fought, Lu Miaoyang would stand no chance. And considering Lu Changxing's immediate slapping of Lu Miaoyang upon arrival, it was clear he was not as good-tempered or gentle as the rumors suggested. Today's visit was not about reconciliation but rather to seek a vendetta. If a fight did break out without restraint, it could indeed end in death. No matter what, if the two started fighting and the situation escalated, the consequences would be dire. The steward could not bear such responsibility. Seeing the stack of talismans in Lu Changxing's hand, a look of fear and envy appeared in Lu Miaoyang's eyes. A thought of retreating grew within him. But the pain on his face, the anger of being humiliated in such a manner, the suffocation and shame in his heart made his mind frantic. Lu Miaoyang, as a direct descendant of the Lu family, had always had his way. When his parents were alive, he was taken care of by them. Even after the death of his parents, he was protected by their inheritance. And now, to be insulted and slapped like a dog by a son-in-law of peasant origin. If word of this got out, not only would he lose all face, but he would also become a laughingstock within the Lu family. "Lu Changxing, just try to kill me," bellowed Lu Miaoyang, his eyes bloodshot and his neck rigid with fury. Swoosh! In an instant, a rush of air sliced through the silence. The green-faced sword, like flowing waters of Qiushui, its golden aura streaming, sword chi swirling, aimed at Lu Miaoyang. The sword's tip rested on Lu Miaoyang's neck. Yet, under the edge of the sword chi, a long, bloody gash had already appeared on Lu Miaoyang's neck, with blood beginning to flow. Chapter 164. Let's see if my flying sword is sharp. If you have the guts to say that again, I'll grant your wish and let you test the sharpness of my flying sword. Lu Changxing's expression was cold as he spoke to Lu Miaoyang. "Changxing, my lad. Changxing, my lad. Don't do this." The steward, seeing this scene and the green-faced sword hanging in front of Lu Miaoyang, its blade flickering unpredictably, cried out in panic to Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing remained silent, only watching Lu Miaoyang with an expression of icy indifference. At that moment, Lu Miaoyang didn't dare to speak either. He could clearly feel the flying sword hanging at his neck. He could feel the chilling sword chi, causing a piercing pain at his throat. With just a thought from Lu Changxing's mental spirit, this flying sword would pierce through his neck in an instant, taking his life. Moreover, Lu Changxing's imposing manner gave him a feeling. If he yelled again, the other party might really dare to kill him, would actually kill him. Although he felt extremely stifled, humiliated, and furious inside, the current shadow of death still made him instinctively want to back down, to feel fear. He feared that Lu Changxing might truly strike him down with a sword. Worthless trash. Although I, Lu Changxing, came from humble origins and entered the Lu family as a son-in-law, now, I am no longer the son-in-law of the past. Over the years, my conduct in the Lu family has been beyond reproach. You provoked trouble on your own, bullied my son, sought to take away my pet beasts, and you expect me to apologize and reconcile with you? How ludicrous! If you dare to pester further, just like this table. Seeing the other party showing signs of fear, Lu Changxing shouted coldly. As his words fell, the green-faced sword that was hanging at Lu Miayang's throat let out a buzz sound, striking the stone table next to them like thunder and lightning. Instantly, the stone table was sliced open like tofu, split in two. Having said that, Lu Changxing gave Lu Miaoyang a cold look, sheathed his green-faced sword, and strode out of the courtyard. He was on guard against Lu Miaoyang. Considering that the other party was a member of the Lu family disciples, he had already given him a chance. If the other party dared to take any action at this point, he would, as he had said, strike him down with his sword. After all, he now possessed the strength and confidence to do so. The strength and confidence to not be constrained by the rules of the Lu family. If things really got out of hand, he could take this opportunity to choose to leave the Lu family. Although leaving the Lu family right now was somewhat improper. It was neither a good time nor a good choice. But he didn't need to be unfairly subjected to this kind of thing anymore. Moreover, Lu Changxing felt that sometimes a little demonstration of power, being tough, was a good thing. Because this way, others would know your temperament, your background, and that you're not someone they can easily manipulate, making them more considerate in their actions. If he always appeared gentle, it wouldn't necessarily be a good thing in many situations. Of course, the precondition was that one needed the strength to back it up. Without real strength, all would be empty talk. Gulp. Lu Miaoyang, watching Lu Changxing's retreating figure, wanted to say something, to do something, but ultimately he just lowered his head and couldn't help swallowing nervously. The stabbing pain in his throat had frightened him. He truly feared that Lu Changxing might cut him down with a sword. And the steward, seeing this scene and Lu Changxing's departure, also couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He quickly helped Lu Miaoyang up and asked, "Young Master Yang, are you all right? Do I look all right to you? You actually dared to stop me just now." Lu Miaoyang roared in fury. "Young Master Yang, this Lu Changxing is now valued by our family. Why must you offend him?" The steward said with a sigh, seeing his young master's state. He had practically watched Lu Miaoyang grow up and truly did not wish for Lu Miaoyang to continue like this. Everything is still okay within the Lu family, for they always remember the kindness of his parents who fought and died for the family. But once away from the Lu family, it's easy to suffer losses, great losses. You still want to lecture me, to teach me how to do things? Lu Miaoyang bellowed. Then, looking at the fading figure of Lu Changxing, his eyes filled with poisonous malice and murderous intent, "Lu Changxing, the shame of today, I will surely make you pay back 1,000, no, 100,000-fold one day." For him, the humiliation of this moment couldn't be washed away even with the water from the 3 rivers and 5 lakes. This vengeance, he would not rest until death. After leaving Lu Miayang's residence, Lu Changxing went directly to visit Lu Yuanding. After all, the man had been beaten. The act was over. Naturally, he had to tell the family head about Lu Miayang's actions. And to see how Lu Yuanding, the patriarch of the Lu family, would handle this matter. A quarter of an hour later, Lu Changxing arrived at Lu Yuanding's residence. However, Lu Yuanding was not there, he was busy. After waiting for about the time it took to finish a pot of tea, Lu Yuanding arrived. "Changxing, you've come because of Miayang's matter, haven't you?" Lu Yuanding quickly entered the hall and immediately addressed Lu Changxing upon seeing him. "Yes, Patriarch, I have come to apologize to you," Lu Changxing nodded and said. "You shouldn't blame yourself for this matter, it was Miaoyang who was at fault from the start." Lu Yuanding let out a slight sigh and said, "Don't worry, even if we go by the family rules, I will argue for a lenient punishment for you," Lu Yuanding said with a faint sigh. As a family head, The most difficult thing to handle was these internal family affairs. Especially when it involved people like Lu Miaoyang and Lu Changxing, who were both in somewhat special situations. One's parents had both died in battle, shedding blood for the family. The other, although part of the Lu family, had not been with the family long enough. He hadn't been fully integrated or accepted yet. So, with such an incident occurring, it was also difficult for him to handle. He hoped, if possible, to have Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoyang reconcile so that the issue could be resolved and put behind them. Patriarch, I came here to apologize because I sought Lu Miaoyang out to reconcile, but in a moment of anger, I ended up giving him a beating. Chapter 165. Let's see if my flying sword is sharp. Reset. Lu Changxing spoke up, directly saying, "What, you beat up Lu Miaoyang?" Lu Yuanding, upon hearing this, was stunned and completely baffled. In his impression, Lu Changxing had always been an honest and steady person. This could be seen from his behavior in the Lu family over the years. Aside from marrying and taking concubines to bear children, he never stirred up trouble or quarreled. Even with a good talent in the talisman path and becoming a talisman master, he never displayed arrogance or entitlement. This was the point that pleased them most about Lu Changxing. Yet at this moment, Lu Changxing actually said that, in a fit of anger, he had beaten up Lu Miaoyang. This was something Lu Yuanding had never expected. For a while, he did not know what would be best to say. After all, he had asked Lu Changxing to return, hoping to calm things down as much as possible. But with such a turn of events, there was no chance for reconciliation. Yes, family head, Lu Changxing nodded calmly in agreement. You were a bit impulsive there, Lu Yuanding said with a bit of a headache. Originally, he had discussed this matter with the fourth elder and several family elders. If Lu Miaoyang persisted in causing trouble and refused to let go, they would deal with it according to the family rules and be lenient. To give Lu Miaoyang and the family an explanation. They also planned to have the fourth elder step in to appease Lu Changxing's side. But now that Lu Changxing had beaten Lu Miaoyang again, he felt it was difficult to deal with Lu Miaoyang and feared things would not calm down easily. Family head, I don't think I was impulsive. My son is not in the wrong here, so asking me to apologize and offer compensation, I cannot do. Moreover, Lu Miaoyang showed no intention of reconciling, acting superior. Am I expected to just swallow my pride and say nothing? Lu Changxing said out loud. Sigh. Lu Yuanding, hearing this, let out a sigh. Looking at the stern-faced Lu Changxing before him, he understood that as a parent, how could anyone stay calm and composed in such a situation? He pondered for a moment before saying, Changxing, I understand how you feel. Since it has already happened, let's leave it at that. I will handle this matter according to the family rules and will not show favoritism to anyone. If you have any issues, you can talk to me directly. Please don't act impulsively again. One can't accomplish anything without following rules. Now that you are a member of our Lu family, you must also act according to the rules. I hope you can understand and be aware of that. Lu Yuanding's tone softened a bit. Family head, I understand, Lu Changxing nodded. He had a very good impression of the patriarch of the Lu family, who had brought him to the Lu family, and knew that Lu Yuanding had a difficult role. He wouldn't make things difficult for him. If the Lu family was willing to handle things impartially, he would naturally accept it. If they were unwilling to handle things impartially, then his relationship with the Lu family would also end there. As for the Lu family, the kindness of the fourth elder would have to be repaid later. Alright, as long as you understand. You can go back now. I will handle the situation, Lu Yuanding said. Seeing Lu Changxing's response, he smiled and nodded, and patted his shoulder. Family head, then I will take my leave. Since the other party was courteous, Lu Changxing naturally returned the courtesy and bowed his hands in respect. Phew! Once Lu Changxing had left, Lu Yuanding tapped his fingers on the table and let out a long sigh. It really is a troublesome autumn. Husband, how did it go? When Lu Changxing returned to his own home, Lu Miaoyun immediately came forward to inquire how the meeting went. I beat up Lu Miaoyang. Lu Changxing did not hide anything and said directly. After all, there was nothing to hide about the matter. He estimated that by tomorrow or the day after, the issue would blow up and Lu Miaoyun would naturally find out. Ah! Lu Miaoyun was taken aback when she heard Lu Changsheng's words, her red lips slightly parting in surprise, finding it hard to believe. She hadn't expected that her husband, who went to reconcile with Lu Miaoyang, ended up beating him up instead. To her, and in the eyes of their wives and concubines, Lu Changsheng had always been mild-mannered and easygoing. Over the years, she had never seen Lu Changsheng argue or get angry with anyone. Now that he had actually beaten Lu Miaoyang, she found it inconceivable. It's done and that's that. Miaoyang has always been difficult, and not many people like him, usually relying on the legacy of benevolence from his parents to lord over the family. Lu Miaoyun immediately spoke up indignantly, standing firmly by Lu Changsheng's side. She felt that if her husband had struck someone, it must have been because Lu Miaoyang was too overbearing. Otherwise, with her husband's disposition, how could he possibly resort to violence? Yuner, don't you think I was a bit impulsive in this matter? Lu Changsheng asked, somewhat surprised by Lu Miaoyang's words. He wasn't worried about anything else regarding hitting someone, but he was concerned that it might be hard for Lu Miaoyun and the fourth elder. Husband has always been gentle and never gets upset with anyone. It surely must have been because Miaoyang went too far that you had to act, Lu Miaoyun said and then looked towards Lu Changsheng. Husband, you're not hurt, are you? No, Lu Miaoyang's cultivation level isn't high, and he was injured, so there's no way he could have hurt me when we fought. Lu Changsheng immediately replied with a laugh, his mood lifting considerably. If his wife had advised him about being impulsive or something, he would have understood, but unavoidably, he would have felt a bit displeased inside. Now that his wife didn't hesitate to support him and was concerned about him, it made him feel quite content. Yuna, hypothetically speaking, if I decide to leave the Lu family one day, what would you do? Lu Changsheng let out a deep breath, appearing nonchalant as he inquired. He hadn't decided to leave the Lu family. However, the situation with the Lu family ancestor and the circumstance of the Lu family meant he had to be prepared for this possibility, ready to escape at any moment. Chapter 166. Let's see if my flying sword is sharp. Reset. After all, if I were to leave the Lu family, I certainly couldn't go alone. I'd have to make arrangements for my wives, concubines, and children to be taken along. But there's an unavoidable issue when it comes to leaving the Lu family, and that's the matter of the wives and concubines. People like Chu Zhenjin are naturally easy to talk to, but it would be difficult to say the same about Lu family's daughters like Lu Miaoyun, Lu Lanshu, Lu Zir, Lu Qingna, and so on. Especially Lu Miaoyun. Originally, when the Lu family, the fourth elder, gave Lu Miaoyun to me in marriage, it was to bind me to the Lu family. Now, if I wished to leave, it would certainly put my wife in a difficult position and create a hard choice. When Lu Miaoyun heard this, she was slightly startled. She immediately assumed that Lu Changsheng was feeling aggrieved because of the matter with Lu Miaoyang. Worried about the incident involving Lu Miaoyang, she said softly, "Husband, don't overthink it. Let's just tell Grandma and it won't be a big deal. I've already spoken with the family head, and I believe the family head will have a decision." Lu Changsheng said with a smile. After the fight, he didn't seek out the fourth elder but went directly to Lu Yuanding because he didn't want to put the fourth elder in a difficult position, and he didn't want to trouble someone else to clean up his mess. "Oh dear, husband, you think too much. Just go and talk to Grandma," Lu Miaoyun insisted, coyly dragging Lu Changsheng to see the fourth elder. All right, let's go," Lu Changsheng said helplessly, smiling as he left with Lu Miaoyun. He had a good idea of what Lu Miaoyun's attitude was. He guessed that unless it was a certain situation, Lu Miaoyun would definitely want to keep him in the Lu family as much as possible. Sigh, he sighed inwardly. He knew leaving the Lu family wasn't going to be that simple. Having been with the Lu family for so many years, what bound him was no longer just a piece of paper. There were also the many Lu family wives and concubines, and the Lu family's kindness towards him. Lu Changsheng was not a heartless, selfish person. His heart clearly distinguished between gratitude and resentment. He couldn't simply leave abruptly and decisively at the moment when the Lu family was about to face a crisis. Although the Lu family, the fourth elder, was good to him because he was valuable, in any case, over the years, the Lu family had treated him well and never wronged him. In such a situation, now that the Lu family was facing an impending crisis, if he were to leave at once, he would indeed struggle with it internally. This matter isn't urgent. The affair concerning the Lu family ancestors still has many years to go. As long as the Lu family has another foundation establishment cultivator emerge, these problems won't exist anymore, and I can keep living peacefully in the Lu family. Moreover, as time goes by, my strength and methods can continue to improve. As long as I have the power, many difficulties and problems will be easily resolved at that time. Lu Changsheng thought privately, not dwelling too much on this subject. Suddenly, the two arrived at the residence of the fourth elder. Chengmin, what brings you here? The fourth elder queried quickly upon learning of their arrival. She was dressed in a deep cyan garment of simple elegance, her black hair meticulously coiffed and adorned with a jade hairpin, exuding a demeanor of dignified grace. Grandma, Lu Miaoyun immediately approached, took the fourth elder's hand, and began relating the events. Changsheng, since the incident has already happened, you don't need to worry about this matter, nor should you dwell on it, the fourth elder said warmly after listening to Lu Miaoyun. Leave it to Grandma to handle the family side of things. At this moment, a flicker of anger rose in her heart. From her years of interaction, she could see that Lu Changsheng was a person who valued emotions. He had begun to feel a sense of belonging to the Lu family and was gradually integrating into it. Yet now, with Lu Miaoyang causing such a commotion, the resulting situation led to thoughts of leaving the Lu family in Lu Changsheng's mind, which could not but infuriate her. Others may not realize it, but as an elder of the Lu family, she was very aware of the current situation. To say that it was the calm before the storm was no overstatement. It was a time when unity was needed to overcome the impending crisis. How could she allow Lu Changsheng, a talisman master with exceptional talent, to harbor grievances and thoughts of departure? After all, it was virtually certain that Lu Changsheng would become a second-ranked talisman master in the future. It was just a matter of time. If he could stay with the Lu family indefinitely, he would certainly become one of the core high-level members in the future. Grandma, sorry to bother you, Lu Changsheng said, cracking a smile. He had only casually asked Lu Miaoyan a question, kind of as a precautionary measure. But now, through Lu Miaoyan's actions, he had inadvertently given the fourth elder the wrong impression, leading her to believe he was really leaving the Lu family. But this matter now was not something he could explain away. Even if he made it clear it was just a casual question, she wouldn't believe it. Asterisk, you are family, there's no need to be so formal with Grandma. If you ever feel wronged, you can tell Grandma directly. Don't ever keep it to yourself, the fourth elder continued saying, with a kindly expression and a gentle tone. No, how could I feel wronged? Lu Changsheng said somewhat helplessly, not wishing to linger on the topic any longer. Then, as if remembering something, he spoke up, speaking of which, Grandma, not long ago I was on the verge of successfully crafting a superior grade talisman, but I always fell just short, and I couldn't manage to successfully create one. Now that I have time, I'd like to ask for your guidance. Lu Changsheng said. It had been nearly 2 months since he revealed himself as a middle-grade talisman master, and according to his plan, he was going to reveal himself as a superior-grade talisman master on his next return, which would be in 3 months. But now that he was back and such an incident had occurred, Lu Changsheng thought it might be a good idea to advance the reveal of his superior-grade talisman master status slightly. Chapter 167. Let's see if my flying sword is sharp. Reset. _1 is for making it convenient for himself to act and perform in the future. He would be able to put the superior grade talismans in the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop for sale in an open and proper manner. Additionally, it was also to give himself more significance when the Lu family dealt with this matter, so as not to make it too difficult for the fourth elder. What, Changsheng, you almost succeeded in making a superior grade talisman? The fourth elder couldn't help but feel moved upon hearing this, her face showing surprise. Even though she had been keeping an eye on Lu Changsheng's progress in talisman making at this moment, hearing that Lu Changsheng almost succeeded in crafting a first-grade superior talisman was still shocking. After all, in talisman making, the gap between middle-grade and superior-grade talismans can be considered a hurdle. Many people are unable to overcome this hurdle in their lifetimes. And Lu Changsheng had just come into contact with superior-grade talismans 3 months ago. Now, he was only a little bit away from success, which was understandably surprising to her. Once he succeeded, Lu Changsheng would truly be considered a superior-grade talisman master. The gap between middle-grade and superior-grade talismans is a hurdle. There is a distinct difference in identity status between middle-grade and superior-grade talisman masters. Middle-grade talisman masters can find a way to make a living anywhere and live comfortably. But if one becomes a superior-grade talisman master, capable of steadily crafting a type of superior-grade talisman, it is enough to join many forces using this craft. To become a distinguished guest, a guest elder. Even within the Lu family, it is the same. If Lu Changsheng were to be promoted to superior-grade talisman master, his identity status within the Lu family would also take another step forward. Lu Miaoyun, standing by his side, couldn't help but look towards her husband, her beautiful eyes sparkling with light. Amazed at the talent her husband exhibited on the talisman path, she felt astonishment. She recalled that when she married Lu Changsheng, he had only recently become a middle-grade talisman master. Now, less than 2 months short of 3 years later, Lu Changsheng was about to become a superior-grade talisman master, and she couldn't help but feel astounded. Didn't it take Sister Miaoga over 5 years to go from middle-grade talisman master to superior-grade talisman master? Lu Miaoyun lightly bit her lip, considering a reference comparison in her mind. However, such a comparison made her even more aware of her husband's astounding talent on the talisman path, and her eyes looking towards Lu Changsheng were full of admiration and worship. Yes, just a little bit more, but I can't seem to get past it, Lu Changsheng nodded and said. Draw one now for Grandma to see, the fourth elder immediately said. All right, Lu Changsheng stood up at once and moved to the table. He took out his middle-grade magic artifact talisman pen and talisman-making materials from his storage bag and began to craft the talisman. The fourth elder stood by his side, quietly observing. Seeing this, Lu Miaoyun dared not make a sound to disturb her husband, quietly standing aside and watching. Asterisk just as Lu Changsheng was seriously drawing the superior-grade golden light barrier talisman with careful strokes, reaching about 80 to 90% completion, suddenly there was a disruption in his spiritual mechanism, the lines became chaotic, causing blue smoke to rise from the talisman paper. There's no problem with your tracing of the talisman lines, but your control over your spiritual power is not precise enough. At this point, and these few turning points, there are minor imperfections leading to a chain reaction, which ultimately results in the failure of the talisman. The fourth elder, having watched, immediately pointed out the problems. Come, feel my spiritual power. She immediately stepped forward, holding Lu Changsheng's palm, and guided him to slowly draw the golden light barrier talisman with gradual movements. At this point, you need to tighten your spiritual power, but at this turning point you have to slide past quickly, then carry a bit of a bounce feel. When you get here, the speed needs to be fast, otherwise it will lead to an accumulation of spiritual power, just like you accumulated earlier. The fourth elder taught him hand in hand, speaking softly. A golden light barrier talisman was then successfully crafted. Now, Changsheng, you try again. The fourth elder let go of his hand, speaking kindly to Lu Changsheng. All right, Lu Changsheng nodded, took a deep breath, and put on a somewhat nervous and earnest facade. He then took a couple of sips from the white jade 100 flowers wine. This had become a habit he had developed under the fourth elder's tutelage in talisman making. One was to show people that his own cultivation level was too low and his spiritual power insufficient. The other was that white jade 100 flowers wine had a heart-clearing and mind-calming effect. For the process of talisman making, which consumed a great deal of mental spirit, it could help varyingly from person to person. After he had made his preparations, Lu Changsheng held the talisman brush with a serious expression, completely focused as he began to slowly draw the talisman. The process was slow and steady. The fourth elder and Lu Miaoyun both watched quietly, without making a sound. Just as Lu Changxing finished the last stroke, a golden light spread out on the paper, a buzzing sound occurred, then the golden light converged and the talisman solidified. A first-grade superior-grade talisman, the golden light barrier talisman, complete. Good. The fourth elder, upon seeing the talisman complete, was extremely surprised and joyfully praised it repeatedly. Congratulations, husband. Lu Miaoyun, witnessing this scene, was also full of joy, her beautiful eyes shimmering with delight. Phew! Lu Changxing, also somewhat exhausted, exhaled deeply, a surprised and happy smile appearing on his face as he turned to the fourth elder and said, "All thanks to Grandma's teaching and guidance. Changxing, you don't need to be modest. In drawing superior-grade talismans, you're only one step away from success," the fourth elder said with gratification and joy. Then, picking up the talisman and gently touching it, she voiced, "Changxing, you were still not precise enough with the spiritual power in these several parts, leading to a somewhat weak spiritual mechanism afterward. However, now that you have entered the door, Grandma believes that as long as you familiarize and practice more, you will be able to fully master it." The fourth elder continued pointing out places where problems lay. "Yes, Grandma," Lu Changxing nodded. This, of course, was intentional on his part, to make the talisman appear as though it was barely a success due to luck. He did not continue drawing proficiently. After all, the image he portrayed to the outside was that he had only recently broken through to the 5th level of qi refinement. Creating 2 superior-grade talismans was about enough. At this moment, the housekeeper, Granny Zijou, arrived in the hall with Lu Bo. "Changxing, the family head wants you to come with me to the family ancestral hall," Lu Bo hurriedly said upon seeing Lu Changxing. "The family ancestral hall? All right." Lu Changxing, hearing this, immediately knew it had to do with Lu Miaoyun. He hadn't expected it to be so soon, he thought it would be tomorrow or the day after. However, upon hearing this, the fourth elder frowned and said, "Why would you go to the family ancestral hall?" Although Lu Changxing's issue with Lu Miaoyang was to be dealt with by family rules, it shouldn't have escalated to involve the family ancestral hall. Alas, young Master Yang suddenly ran inside the ancestral hall, hugging his parents' memorial tablets and wailing that Changxing was trying to kill him, insisting that the family head handle the matter publicly in the hall. With a deep sigh and a sense of helplessness, Lu Bo explained, "What a piece of work." Lu Changxing also couldn't help being startled upon hearing this. He was speechless in his mind, finding Lu Miaoyang to be quite a character, having directly run to the Lu family ancestral hall and clung to his parents' memorial tablets to lament. No wonder Lu Miaoyang was usually so arrogant in the Lu family. With such a move, who could stand against him? "Let's go, Changxing. Grandma will accompany you there." The fourth elder, at this moment, was also rather speechless, unsure how to comment on Lu Miaoyang's actions. Chapter 168. Lu Family Ancestor, the one with great destiny. Reset. _1 Lu Changxing followed the fourth elder to the Lu family shrine in the deepest part of Qingzhou Valley. This was his first time visiting the Lu family shrine. After all, such a place was considered forbidden territory for the Lu family, and entry was not normally permitted. The Lu family shrine here was very quiet. The shrine didn't cover a very large area. It didn't look particularly magnificent, it was quite simple. But it exuded a solemn and ancient air of seriousness. Upon entering the main gate of the shrine, Lu Changxing saw ancient trees reaching for the sky and luxuriant jade-green bamboo. In the midst of solemn solemnity, there was a simple and profound feeling of tranquility. But now, the air of solemnity was shattered by wailing cries. "Woo, Dad, Mom. You left and now it's just me, Yang, alone, letting an outsider bully me." Lu Changxing immediately recognized that this voice belonged to Lu Miaoyang. For a moment, he couldn't associate this aggrieved voice with the arrogant demeanor of Lu Miaoyang he had seen before. that Lu Miaoyang, he's not brainless at all, he's completely fearless because he has something to rely on. Lu Changsheng couldn't help but lament in his heart. Before, he thought Lu Miaoyang was a brainless, pampered young master. But judging from this performance, he felt Lu Miaoyang had the confidence, certain that the Lu family would be biased in his favor. How dare such clamor disrupt the land of our ancestors? It's utterly disgraceful. The fourth elder also heard the sound and showed anger on his face. Then, fearing that Lu Changsheng would worry and overthink, he reassured, "It's nothing, Changsheng." He led Lu Changsheng into the Lu family shrine. Inside the shrine, they saw Lu Miaoyang, whose face was swollen and bruised like a pig's head, his body wrapped in bandages, and a clear bloodstain on his neck. He looked utterly miserable, clutching a spiritual tablet to his chest and crying loudly. The sight was enough to sadden the observer and bring tears to the listener. He was completely unlike the person Lu Changsheng had first met. "Miang, rest assured, such matters will be handled in accordance with the family rules, and we will be fair to everyone. Yes, let's talk this out. Stop crying. Everyone is here. What does it look like, making such a fuss?" A few of the Lu family elders were comforting and persuading him by the side. "All right, Lu Miaoyang, Lu Changsheng is here now. I shall administer justice in front of your parents' memorial tablet." At this moment, Lu Yuanding coughed twice, his expression grave and his voice steady as he spoke. "Thank you, family head." Upon hearing these words, Lu Miaoyang stopped crying and thanked Lu Yuanding. Then he looked at Lu Changsheng with eyes filled with malice. To think that he, Lu Miaoyang, had been in the Lu family for so many years and had never been humiliated like this. "Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoyang claims you came to his door intending to kill him. Is there truth to this?" At this time, Lu Yuanding also looked at Lu Changsheng and spoke sternly. "Regarding the matter between me and Lu Miaoyang, it is Lu Miaoyang who was in the wrong from the start. He coveted my family's spiritual pets and used his position to oppress my child, and in a fit of frustrated rage, he even attempted to lay a hand on my child, showing the shamelessness of his actions and the maliciousness of his thoughts. Even if he was bitten by my pet beasts, it was his own fault. This time, I returned with the intent to resolve matters peacefully, but he was aggressive. In my anger, I acted against him and taught him a lesson. I did not kill him, which shows I still regarded the kinship within our family. If I really wanted to kill him, he would be dead by now. Moreover, I used my flying sword only because Lu Miaoyang had the intent to kill me first." Lu Changsheng spoke with a solemn face. "Nonsense. You had no intention of reconciling. And even if I was the one to resort to the flying sword first, it was you who struck first." Lu Miaoyang immediately retorted angrily. After speaking, he pointed to the marks on his face and the bloodstain on his neck and wailed, "Uncle Yuanding, Grandfather Lin, Grandfather Guang, look at my face and here, these were all caused by Lu Changsheng. Dad, Mom, why did you leave Younger alone?" "Ooh." Lu Miaoyang cried out miserably. The other Lu family elders and the fourth elder shook their heads when they saw the two men's conditions. Lu Changsheng spoke of the incident with neither humility nor arrogance. While Lu Miaoyang was throwing a tantrum, being unreasonable, and making a scene, it was a parent who stood higher instantly. "Lu Miaoyang, be quiet. This matter will be judged according to the family rules. Your unreasonable ruckus will not be tolerated." Lu Yuanding spoke sternly. "Family head, rather than arguing the complexities of right and wrong, I do not wish to debate further. Although I am not a disciple of the Lu family, having been with the Lu family for more than 7 years, I consider myself a part of it and am willing to abide by the family's rules. Therefore, I ask the family to adjudicate this matter fairly." Lu Changsheng spoke gravely. He did not wish to debate any further, primarily because Lu Miaoyang's attitude and posture were not worth arguing over. The opponent was clearly intent on being unreasonable and playing the victim. It wasn't like he, too, could start wailing about his years in the Lu family, could he? Very well if this is the case. I, the family head, shall decree a judgment according to the family rules. Lu Yuanding nodded upon hearing this, but he did not immediately announce his judgment. Instead, he looked at the fourth elder, then at the several elders and patriarchs. Obviously, they were silently deliberating, deciding the verdict of the matter. During this process, Lu Yuanding and some of the Lu family elders seemed to hear something astonishing. Their eyes showed expressions of surprise, amazement, and shock. Regarding the matter between Lu Miaoyang and Lu Changxing, the family head, pronounced the judgment. Family head Lu Yuanding spoke out with an authoritative voice. Lu family disciple Lu Miaoyang, for initiating provocation in Qingzhou Valley and fighting with Lu Changxing, resulting in a dispute, shall be penalized by losing 1 year's salary and be confined for 3 years for self-reflection. Chapter 169. Lu family ancestor, the one with great destiny. Reset. Lu Changxing for failing to guard his pet beast properly, which bit Lu Miaoyang, a disciple of the Lu family, and for engaging in further strife with him, is fined 300 spirit stones and sent to labor in servitude for 3 years. However, considering that he did not instigate the trouble and that he must continue to manage the family's business and draw talismans, the 3 years of hard labor will be converted to the forfeiture of 3 years' salary. Do you all accept this? Lu Yuanding spoke with an authoritative voice. Family head, I am not satisfied. My parents shed blood for the family, made meritorious contributions, and ultimately sacrificed their lives for the family, yet now you are unfairly siding with Lu Changxing, favoring an outsider. However, as soon as the sentence was pronounced, Lu Miaoyang immediately shouted out. Lu Miaoyang. Lu Yuanding and the fourth elder in unison coldly shouted. Now that Lu Changxing was standing right here, Lu Miaoyang had the audacity to yell out such words. Treating Lu Changxing as an outsider. You should know that Lu Changxing was not only the son-in-law of the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain but also a high-grade talisman master. I am not satisfied, I cannot accept this. This Lu Changxing is nothing but a redundant son-in-law of our family. If it had not been for our Lu family taking him in, where would he be today? Now he has beaten me to this state, nearly killed me, and the family actually sides with him, aiding an outsider to bully one of their own. Ancestor, I want to see the ancestor. If the ancestor knew you were helping an outsider bully your own people. Lu Miaoyang, turning a deaf ear to the scolding, continued to cry out loudly. Lu Miaoyang. Seeing this situation, several family elders attempted to drag him away. But Lu Miaoyang clung tightly to 2 memorial tablets, making it difficult for the elders to forcibly remove him. Lu Changxing watched this scene speechless, thinking to himself that the Lu family had quite a temper, being able to tolerate Lu Miaoyang making such a scene. If someone like that were in his own family, he'd have been slapped away by now. No, I won't go, you are all biased, favoring an outsider and bullying me. Father, mother, why did you leave me all alone? I want to see the ancestor, let the ancestor judge. Lu Miaoyang continued crying and shouting as he was dragged away. However, just at that moment, suddenly, scoundrel! An old and resonant voice, like the sound of a great bell, echoed out of nowhere. Immediately after, it was seen that Lu Miaoyang's entire body was sent flying backwards with a crash. The 2 memorial tablets in his hands, however, floated down gently and settled securely amongst the rows of memorial tablets positioned above in the ancestral hall. Ancestor! The ancestor! Greetings to the ancestor! Greetings to the ancestor! Hearing this voice, everyone in the ancestral hall, Lu Yuanding, the fourth elder, and all the present family elders bowed and saluted in unison. The Lu family ancestor! Lu Changxing, upon hearing this, could not help but feel a sudden shock in his heart. He turned his head to look, and saw an imposing old man, clad in a Qingzhou mountain robe, with white hair and a youthful complexion, walking towards him. He quickly bowed in respect. This was his first time seeing the esteemed Lu family ancestor. Even when he married Lu Miaoyun, only the elders of the Lu family came, and he did not see the ancestor. He never thought that such an incident would bring forth the Lu family ancestor himself. Scoundrel, is the ancestral hall a place for you to cause a ruckus? The Lu family ancestor scolded Lu Miaoyang, who was to the side, speaking directly. Ancestor, At this moment, facing the Lu family ancestor, Lu Miaoyang also became scared and dared not to continue his tantrum. After all, the Lu family ancestor was the sky of the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain. He dared to fuss and throw a tantrum, relying on the affection from the Lu family ancestor and the debts owed to his parents. Now that the ancestor had appeared, he did not dare to make a scene anymore. Yuan Long had such an illustrious life, how could he have a worthless child like you? If not for Yuan Long's sake, I would slap you to death, the Lu family ancestor said, expressing his disappointment. Now take this disgraceful fellow out of here. Just as Yuan Ding proposed, let him reflect on his actions quietly at home, think it over well. If he dares to cause trouble again, he will be harshly punished. The Lu family ancestor declared. Yes, ancestor. Lu Yuanding immediately nodded respectfully. Yes, ancestor. Two of the Lu family elders immediately stepped forward and took Lu Miaoyang out of the ancestral hall. You are called Lu Changxing, correct? At this point, the Lu family ancestor turned to Lu Changxing and started speaking. Lu Changxing greets the ancestor. Lu Changxing, facing the elder with a head of white hair, unsure of why he was suddenly the focus of attention, hastily bowed and saluted. The Lu family ancestor's face appeared calm, and there was no hint of formidable aura about him. But standing before him gave one an unfathomable impression of depth and solidity. He didn't seem anything like what Yuningrong had described, that the Lu family ancestor had at most 10 years left to live. Moreover, in front of this Lu family ancestor, he involuntarily felt as if a needle were at his back, feeling as if the elder could see right through him. At this moment, Lu Changxing was uncertain if the jade pendant that the colorful dress lady had given him would be of any use. His own cultivation level, spirit, and everything about him might be discerned by the ancestor, especially since the Lu family ancestor before him was a Foundation Establishment great cultivator. Such terror from a Foundation Establishment ancestor. If he notices something amiss, I wonder if I would have time to call for help. Lu Changxing thought anxiously in his heart. He dared confront and act against Lu Miaoyang within the Lu family because he had gained a certain level of strength and confidence. Feeling that it was unnecessary to continually concede, he thought it was time to show some firmness. But he had not anticipated that his actions would provoke the appearance of the Lu family ancestor. Facing the ancestor, he couldn't help but feel somewhat panicked. After all, his confidence stemmed from the second-rank talismans and second-rank puppets. But the power of a second-rank talisman was only equivalent to a casual strike from a cultivator at the initial stages of Foundation establishment. Chapter 170. Lu Family Ancestor, the Great Destiny Holder. Reset. A second-rank puppet could never stand a chance against a foundation-building great cultivator. As for activating the jade pendant to call for help from the woman in the colorful skirt, but in the presence of such a foundation-building great cultivator, he didn't know whether there would be enough time. The young man is quite good. Since he's a son-in-law of our Lu family, he may treat this place as his own home. A faint smile appeared on the withered face of the Lu family ancestor. His dry palm gently reached out and touched Lu Changxing's head. This gesture left Lu Changxing slightly stunned. He didn't quite understand what the Lu family ancestor meant. Trying to calm himself, he pursed his lips and nodded. Yes, ancestor. The young man has always treated this place as his own home, Lu Changxing said respectfully. Hee, that's good, the Lu family ancestor chuckled, retracting his somewhat rough hand, and then he left. Seeing off the ancestor. Seeing off the ancestor. Seeing off the ancestor. All those present bowed and respectfully said their farewells. Phew! Watching the Lu family ancestor depart, Lu Changxing also let out a slight sigh of relief. During these brief moments, a layer of cold sweat had seeped out on his back. What's the situation with the Lu family ancestor, exactly? Did he see through something about me? Lu Changsheng couldn't help wondering in his heart. He really couldn't figure out why the Lu family ancestor would take notice of him. Changsheng, it's all right now. Just then, the fourth elder looked at Lu Changsheng and said with a smile on his face. Then she spoke softly, when the family finds the spirit stone, Grandma will pay for you. It's okay, Grandma. Lu Changsheng, with his emotions in check, gently shook his head. He could feel that the verdict was actually biased in his favor by the family. In his heart, he speculated that it was very likely the fourth elder had informed Lu Yuanding about his promotion to high-grade talisman master. What's owed must be taken. These spirit stones are nothing to Grandma. The fourth elder waved her hand and spoke warmly. Thank you, Grandma. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng didn't insist any further. He understood that it was a kind gesture from her. All right, it's getting late. You've hurried back and been on the move all day. Go home and rest early. If you have any issues, just come and talk to Grandma. The fourth elder, taking Lu Changsheng away from the Lu family ancestral hall, said aloud. Yes, Grandma. Lu Changsheng nodded slightly and walked towards his home. His mind was still pondering over the matter of the Lu family ancestor. He wanted to know why the other party looked at him, and whether he had seen something in him. Forget it, at least for now. The Lu family ancestor bears no malice towards me, Lu Changsheng thought secretly. He didn't dwell too much on the matter and quickly made his way home. After all, fretting about it now would only bring more trouble to himself. If a foundation-building great cultivator truly harbored bad intentions towards him, he would really have no way out. He couldn't just curse the Lu family ancestor to death tonight with the book of malevolent curses and fates, could he? When Lu Changsheng arrived home, he immediately saw his wives and concubines waiting for him in the courtyard. Husband, how did it go? Lu Miaoyun and the other wives approached with eyes full of concern. It's been resolved, there's no more trouble. Lu Changsheng waved his hand and shared the outcome with Lu Miaoyun. The fault wasn't ours to begin with. Besides, husband is now a high-grade talisman master. Even if it were a matter of clan punishment, the family would consider husband's position. Lu Miaoyun said, holding Lu Changsheng's arm. You've had a hard day, husband, and congratulations on becoming a high-grade talisman master. Yes, congratulations on becoming a high-grade talisman master. Congratulations, husband. Congratulations, husband, on taking another step on the path of cultivation. The other wives also spoke up to congratulate him. Very well, let's have a good celebration tonight. Lu Changsheng also gave a grand wave and said, after all, becoming a top-grade talisman master is indeed something worth celebrating. However, when the wives and concubines heard Lu Changsheng's words, they couldn't help but blush slightly. In a secluded courtyard deep within Qingzhou Valley, where spiritual energy converged and birds sung amidst fragrant flowers, the Lu family ancestor was lying back on a recliner, resting with his eyes closed, listening to Lu Yuanding reporting on the Lu family's affairs. Several Lu family elders stood waiting to one side. As for the Chen family, strike back if you have to, otherwise, everyone will think my days are numbered. We need to establish our authority. It can save a lot of trouble, the Lu family ancestor said lightly. Yes, ancestor, Lu Yuanding immediately nodded in response. By the way, tell me more about that Lu Changsheng. The Lu family ancestor spoke as if something had just occurred to him. Everyone was somewhat surprised, not expecting the ancestor to ask about Lu Changsheng. Lu Yuanding immediately began detailing Lu Changsheng's situation, and then asked the fourth elder to add more information. It seems this child is someone with great fortune and destiny. After hearing everything, the Lu family ancestor said, his eyes opening and closing languidly. He had been in a whimsical mood today, went to the Lu family hall because of the noise, and when he saw Lu Changsheng, he found, to his surprise, that he was unable to see through him. This piqued his interest, and he couldn't help but take a few more looks, knowing that the young man had secret chances of fortune by his side. He grew increasingly curious about Lu Changsheng. Now, hearing the words from Lu Yuanding and the fourth elder, he was almost certain that Lu Changsheng was indeed someone with great destiny. Someone with great destiny. The crowd, hearing this, looked at each other in dismay, utterly astonished. They hadn't expected the Lu family ancestor to give such an evaluation of Lu Changxing. The concept of destiny was extremely profound, but it truly existed in the cultivation world. Some live a life full of disasters and calamities, while others sing their way through life, experiencing one lucky encounter after another. Such people who experience a continual stream of fortunate encounters are referred to as individuals with great destiny. Even if such people lack talent, they are favored by destiny and can rise up through fortuitous opportunities. In other words, individuals in the cultivation world who have a name and reputation can all be referred to as someone with great destiny. If this child truly possesses great destiny, he will undoubtedly achieve no small feats in the future. Being able to fully integrate into our Lu family, he could become a strong support for us, the Lu family ancestor said slowly. Sighing, he added, "But you all must hasten your efforts, as I won't be able to protect you for many more years. If we can't produce a foundation establishment, then it's time to abandon Qingzhou Mountain, split the family early, and each fend for themselves. Otherwise, ancestor. Ancestor, you are in the prime of life, how can this be?" "Yes, ancestor." The crowd hastily spoke out. But in their hearts, they couldn't help but be shrouded with a layer of melancholy. Being here, they were well aware of the Lu family ancestor's condition. Although his injuries had healed, his lifespan was already running short. That night. Afterward, "Husband, today you asked me, if my husband were to leave, what would Yuner choose? Having married my husband, if you truly wish to leave the Lu family, Yuner will naturally follow you," Lu Miaoyun said, snuggling gently against Lu Changsheng's chest, her eyes full of tenderness, her voice breathy. "I was just asking casually, with no intentions of leaving. Where could I go if I were to leave?" "You don't need to worry about that," Lu Changxing said in a soothing tone, knowing he had unsettled her earlier with his question about leaving the Lu family. In truth, he hadn't expected that by merely mentioning it, Lu Miaoyun would decisively decide to leave the Lu family with him. If it were so easy to sway someone, the Lu family's action of marrying a woman to him would be in vain, merely adding an unnecessary bond. After all, for a cultivation family like the Lu family, the concept of sacrificing for the family's interests and benefits was deeply instilled from a young age, and such a mindset isn't easily changed. "Yes," Lu Miaoyun softly acknowledged with a yes, then let out a delicate cry. "Husband, your concubine can't go on." But before she could finish speaking, her voice became choppy, no longer forming coherent words. Chapter 171, 7 Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword Scripture. Underskung. "Have you guys heard? Lu Miaoyang has been grounded." "What happened? Give us the details." "It's about him and Lu Changxing. I heard that Lu Changxing beat Lu Miaoyang up, and then Lu Miaoyang ran off to make a scene at the ancestral hall. Eventually even the ancestors were provoked." "Sure, even the ancestors got involved. Who would have thought that brother-in-law Changxing, who usually seems so amiable, would actually beat up Miaoyang? Yeah, I thought he would calm things down and let bygones be bygones. Even a nice guy has his limits, after all, who could tolerate Lu Miayang's character?" "Exactly, I guess Lu Miaoyang must have pushed him too far." "Serves him right, it's so satisfying." "Speaking of which, Lu Changxing must have been punished by the family too, right? How was he dealt with?" "I'm not too sure about that, but I heard he was fined quite a few spirit stones." TSK, he really got caught in the crossfire. The next day, the affair between Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoyang also became the talk of many Lu family disciples within Qingzhou Mountain. After all, the incident had caused quite a stir in the past few days, attracting a lot of attention. Now that the family had made its judgment, the outcome naturally became a topic of gossip and intrigue for everyone to relish. Meanwhile, Qingzhou Valley. Inside a manor. "Family head, please take care." Lu Changxing saw Lu Yuanding out the door and exhaled slightly. Lu Yuanding's visit was primarily to comfort him, worrying that he might feel wronged and hold a grudge over yesterday's judgment. Although the fourth elder had paid all the spirit stone fines on behalf of Lu Changxing, He was indeed fined. Secondly, the visit was about discussing benefits and compensation. Lu Yuanding was aware of his promotion to a high-grade talisman master through the fourth elder. Since the fourth elder had mentioned it, there was no need for a confirmation assessment as before. So Lu Yuanding came directly to discuss the new benefits with Lu Changxing. The original 10 spirit stones per month had been increased to 30 spirit stones. The 20 caddies of jade bamboo spirit rice increased to 50 caddies. Additionally, the monthly talisman-making task escalated from being rewarded 10 spirit stones to 30. Any excess completed talismans would still be bought by the Lu family at the original price. However, for the excess talismans, the Lu family switched from rewarding spirit stones to granting family contribution points. Family contribution points could be exchanged for spirit stones. They could also be used to claim elixir medicines and precious treasures from the Lu family's treasure pavilion, with the price being 20 to 30% cheaper than the market rate outside. This too was considered a benefit for the family disciples. As for the upgraded treatment, Lu Changxing didn't feel much impact. It was mainly because his mindset on consumption had shifted. Previously, after killing a wave of robber cultivators, he acquired valuables worth tens of thousands of spirit stones, and easily spent several thousand spirit stones. Now, the idea of a few dozen spirit stones a month just didn't excite him much anymore. Sigh, when I first came to the Lu family, I only had 2 spirit stones a month. Every month I had to carefully calculate my expenditures on spirit rice and vegetables. Now, faced with dozens of spirit stones, I actually feel indifferent. Lu Changxing shook his head and sighed. He remembered the days when he would have split a single spirit stone in 2 to make it last longer. Wealth earned by a stroke of luck is rare after all. A steady income is the true path to follow. After all, where would I get so much windfall from? Lu Changxing subtly adjusted his mentality, reminding himself. After staying in Qingzhou Mountain for 3 days, Lu Changxing bid farewell to his wife and concubines, riding an iron feather eagle back to Nine Dragons Marketplace. In truth, he had wanted to stay in his home for a longer period. But the spiritual talisman shop needed his supervision, and in a couple of days, there would be the periodic inspection of goods. However, he had also mentioned to the fourth elder that he would like Lu Miaoge to take care of the shop temporarily, so he could take some time off at home. The reason was simple. When he had initially gone to Nine Dragon Square, not only was it hard to refuse, but he also thought of selling his talismans at the marketplace and purchasing materials for cultivating the 100 refinements treasure body art, as well as taking in a ferry. But now, he had nearly completed these tasks and could afford to take a break. There was no need to stay in the marketplace all the time. He planned to stay on Qingzhou Mountain for a while, to spend some quality time with his wives and children. Because next year he was preparing to send Lu Pingon and the other children into the secular world. For now, he considered it as taking a leave. Upon hearing Lu Changxing's words, the fourth elder readily agreed, stating that in 2 months, he would send Lu Miaoge to take over for Lu Changxing, so he could spend more time at home with his wives and children. Later, if he found the time, he could alternate with Lu Miaoge in managing the spiritual talisman shop, making it much easier for both of them to handle. 2 days later, an iron feather eagle descended outside Nine Dragons Marketplace. Lu Changxing entered the marketplace and headed towards the spiritual talisman shop. HM? It's him! What a coincidence to run into him like this. Just then, on the bustling street, a delicate-looking girl in a purple dress caught sight of Lu Changxing, paused for a moment, and then her lips curved up in a smile. She pretended to stroll casually while following closely behind Lu Changxing. After trailing him for a while, the girl saw Lu Changxing walk into a spiritual talisman shop. She looked up at the sign above the shop. Qingzhou Lu's spiritual talisman shop. Then, with a smile, she walked inside. A moment later, the girl emerged from the shop, still smiling. Qingzhou Lu's spiritual talisman shop's owner. Is he a disciple of the Qingzhou Lu family? How could a mere disciple from a foundation establishment family have so many talismans and even a talisman treasure on him? With a frown, the girl inwardly mused. This man must have a big secret, a great opportunity. Otherwise, a disciple from a mere foundation establishment family couldn't possibly have a talisman treasure and so many talismans. Chapter 172, 7 Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword Scripture. No wonder he was unmoved when I invited him to explore the ancient cave, the girl murmured in her heart. As long as a little more time passes, the Lockhart goo will recover some of its vitality and can be used on someone again. This man has a talisman treasure by his side, so many talismans, and he even took 2 of my foundation establishment spirit objects. He has reaped the wealth of the Ko family's 5 fiends and possesses secrets of fortune. He is indeed worthy of a spot for my Lockhart goo. Since that's the case, he'll stay in the marketplace for a while. Once the Lockhart goo has recovered, it'll make him my first target. Once bitten by the Lockhart goo, he will uncontrollably develop feelings of love for me. By then, all these riches and secrets of fortune will be in my pocket. The girl thought to herself, a smile appearing on her face. Her already delicate features became more enchanting and ethereal at that moment, emanating a mystifying and elusive aura. At this time, Lu Changxing was unaware that he had become the target of someone's attention. After returning to the spiritual talisman shop and inquiring about the shop's situation with the shopkeeper Zhang Shan in the past few days, he went to the 3rd floor. He checked the storage room and the talisman room to see if he had left any traces while making puppets and drawing second-rank talismans. After all, he planned to go home to spend time with his wives and children in a short period, and leave the shop to Lu Miaoge to manage. Although he was usually careful, he still had to confirm everything to avoid any oversight. After confirming that there were no problems, Lu Changxing felt relieved. He then took out his tools for talisman making and began drawing talismans. 1 month later, inside the spiritual talisman shop, Lu Changxing was drawing talismans. At that moment, a system notification sounded. Congratulations to the host for reaching 50 offspring. You have been awarded 1 designated lottery draw. The reward for 50 children arrived as expected. Lu Changxing wasn't surprised. Designated lottery draw? But the mention of a designated lottery draw made Lu Changxing pause slightly, somewhat surprised. The next moment, however, he understood what the designated lottery draw meant. The lottery will have sections for cultivation techniques, skills, pet beasts, elixir medicines, magical treasures, and others, making up 7 categories. In previous draws, the rewards had been random from any of these categories. But this designated lottery draw allowed one to select a specific category for the lottery. Designated lottery, a draw from a specific category? Lu Changxing's eyebrows twitched. He silently thought, "System, I want to draw." Immediately, the familiar lottery wheel appeared. Should I go for a cultivation technique or a magical treasure? Looking at the lottery wheel before him, Lu Changxing pondered. Having drawn so many times, he had gone through each of the 7 categories. He knew that even if he could target one category, it was still a big gamble. If he had to choose, he was inclined towards cultivation techniques and magical treasures. Cultivation techniques were what he currently lacked for his main practice. After all, the returning origin technique had disappointed him for several years. He had always wanted a chi refinement cultivation method. However, there's too much uncertainty in each lottery draw. Even if he targeted cultivation techniques, the system might give him another auxiliary technique like the Immortal Beauty technique, or another body refining technique like the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, or some other cultivation technique. If that happened, he would be at a great loss. In comparison, drawing a magical treasure seemed much more reliable. After all, there was a good chance he could use a magical treasure for practicing the 100 Refinements Treasure Body technique. Magical treasures are reliable, but I already have the Black Dragon magical bead. Another magical treasure won't make much of a difference to me. Besides, not every magical treasure can be fused into the body. After pondering for a moment, Lu Changxing decided to take a risk and draw for a cultivation technique. He was fed up with the useless returning origin technique. always just struggling through bitter practice with slow progress. He hoped for a cultivation method like the Immortal beauty technique or the 100 refinements treasure body art that could offer a shortcut. System, I designate a draw for a cultivation technique. Lu Changxing immediately said. In an instant the layout of the spinning lottery will changed. No longer was it a golden light flashing rapidly across 7 categories. Instead, the cultivation techniques section glowed intensely with golden light. Patterns of various cultivation techniques and divine skills whizzed by quickly. Lu Changxing saw one technique after another. Heavenly Circulation Starry Technique, Brahmin Demon True Saint Technique, Feathered Ascension Scripture, Great Nurturing Heaven Demon Scripture, 36 Styles Muddy Water Harvest Battling Elixir Method. Goodness, there are all kinds of techniques. What if I got a demonic cultivation technique? Should I practice it or not? Lu Changxing closely watched the unpredictable patterns in front of him, thinking to himself. Eventually, the lottery will stop. An image of a jade scroll with 7 swords on it emerged before him, accompanied by a system notification sound. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture. The reward has been placed in the system space, and the host can check it at any time. 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture? The system finally came through for once. Lu Changxing, upon seeing the award pattern, immediately felt a surge of excitement. With the words, Sword Scripture, Lu Changxing knew it was the type of qi refinement cultivation technique he wanted. Because qi refinement cultivation techniques are a general term and come in many varieties. There are foundational techniques like the returning origin technique, which is neutral and mundane. Techniques that specialize in vitality like those of the wood element. Techniques focused on alchemy and artifact refining associated with the wood and fire elements. And even poison or demonic techniques fall under the category of qi refinement techniques. But this technique had the words, Sword Scripture, and Lu Changxing knew it was a sword Dao cultivation technique. According to what Lu Changxing knew, sword cultivation techniques typically emphasized on combat and aggression. Lu Changxing didn't mind and immediately looked towards the system space. Chapter 173, 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture. Check the status of the cultivation technique I've just obtained. Cultivation technique. 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture. Grade, Orthodox Level. Description, the town-founding ultimate skill of the 7 Luminaries Sword Sect, incorporating the spiritual energy of the 7 Luminaries stars, condensing the 7 Luminaries Sword Qi, forging the 7 Luminaries Heart Lamp, 7 Luminaries Sword Formation. An Orthodox Level cultivation technique? Nice, this is perfect. Lu Changxing was suddenly overjoyed when he saw the information about the 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture. Although the explanation was quite brief and didn't reveal much. But an orthodox level cultivation technique was enough to satisfy Lu Changxing. After all, having mastered the 100 treasures body refinement technique beforehand, Lu Changxing already had a certain understanding of orthodox level cultivation techniques. Profound sects truly have an imposing and majestic presence. It was 1,000 times stronger than that garbage returning origin technique he owned anyways. Furthermore, he wouldn't have to worry about a continuation technique for the foundation establishment stage. Like his current returning origin technique, which could only be cultivated to the peak of energy refinement realm, and then no further. System Inheritance. Lu Changxing didn't think twice. He activated the 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture with a slight movement of his mental spirit. Immediately, details about the cultivation of the 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture, including related content and all key points, poured into Lu Changxing's mind like an enlightening elixir. Lu Changxing sat silently, immersing his mental spirit in the comprehension of this deeply profound sword scripture. After a long while, excellent, excellent. What a 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture. Truly worthy of being an orthodox level cultivation technique. Systems produce only the finest quality. Lu Changsheng opened his eyes, revealing a look of delight. In that short time, through the system's inheritance, he had come to thoroughly understand the 7 Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture. He knew the methods of cultivation, related content, and all key points inside out. The 7 Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture consisted of 5 levels, each corresponding with the energy refinement, foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, and divinity transformation realms, in total of 5 stages. In other words, this technique alone was sufficient for his cultivation up to the divinity transformation realm. This technique was similar to the 100 Refinements treasure body art. It had not only the methods of cultivation through absorption. In each layer, there were also matching spells and features of the techniques. For instance, the first level during energy refinement stage came with 3 matching spells: 7 Luminaries Sword Light, 7 Luminaries Sword Shield, and 7 Luminaries Sword Escape. Attack, defense, pursuit, and escape were all covered. Moreover, the 7 Luminaries Sword Chi cultivated through the 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword scripture also had the characteristic of eliminating elixir toxicity. Most cultivators usually consume elixir medicines to assist in their cultivation. But elixir medicines, more or less, always carry some elixir toxicity, not to mention being harmful to the body. Take the yellow dragon elixir, for example. Consuming it excessively could cause the body to develop resistance to elixir medicines. As a result, consuming elixir medicines would become ineffective or barely effective. This was also the reason why, even though Lu Changsheng had spirit stones to purchase elixir medicines for cultivation support, he did not overuse them and knew the right limit. It was because of the issue of elixir toxicity. But now, with the 7 Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, he could use elixir medicines to increase his cultivation level without any reservations. Completely fearless of elixir toxicity. However, eliminating elixir toxicity wasn't so simple. It would require time and strenuous effort to refine and expel the toxicity. And when refining the toxicity, the body had to endure the torment of sword chi cutting deep. But this pain is nothing compared to the unfettered use of elixir medicines, free of side effects. It's hardly worth mentioning. Lu Changsheng's eyes sparkled. If he could consume elixir medicines without inhibition, his cultivation speed would double. Originally, he thought it would take 6 to 7 years to break through to the 8th level energy refinement. But now, able to use elixir medicines without inhibition, the time required for cultivation would be greatly reduced. Moreover, each layer of this technique came with matching spells and features of the technique, such as the 7 Luminaries Heart Lamp on the 2nd level. The 3rd level's 7 Luminaries Stars Sword, 7 Luminaries Sword Formation. It can be described as extremely powerful. What made Lu Changsheng even more excited and satisfied was that the 7 Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture could also be split up into multiple techniques. It could be divided into the Sun Brilliant Sword technique, Lunar Brilliant Sword technique, Venus Brilliant Sword technique, Jupiter Wood Brilliant Sword technique, Mars Fire Brilliant Sword technique, Saturn Earth Brilliant Sword technique, Sun and Moon Yin-Yang Life and Death Sword chapter, and 5 Brilliance's Stars Annihilation Sword canon. The reason is simple. Orthodox level techniques are incredibly difficult. Not only are they hard to cultivate, but they are also challenging to comprehend. Only those with exceptional talent can successfully cultivate the 7 Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture. Therefore, to make it possible for most disciples to cultivate, the 7 Luminaries Sword sect lowered the difficulty by dividing it into multiple techniques, allowing the disciples to choose according to their spiritual root attributes and the features of the techniques. Orthodox level techniques are difficult to comprehend because it's very hard to understand and cultivate them. If it weren't for the system's direct inheritance, it would be nearly impossible for me to comprehend and master this technique on my own. In the future, when my children start cultivating, even if I teach them this technique, they would find it very difficult to grasp and cultivate. But the split techniques such as the Sun Brilliant Sword technique, Lunar Brilliant Sword technique, Venus Brilliant Sword technique, are of the exquisite level, and relatively speaking, are much easier to get started with. If the children are exceptionally gifted, they can start cultivating with the Sun and Moon Yin-Yang Life and Death Sword chapter. Lu Changsheng exhaled deeply. This was one of the aspects that made him extremely excited and satisfied with the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture. It not only resolved the issue of his cultivation techniques, but it also addressed the future cultivation technique needs for his children. Although it would be a while before his children started cultivating, at least now he didn't have to worry about it. Chapter 174. So this is how you attract romantic luck, huh? _1 Inside the spiritual talisman shop. Lu Changsheng sat cross-legged, with his 5 hearts pointing to the heavens and eyes closed, his expression solemn. The spiritual lake within his chi ocean core bubbled and churned, slowly flowing through his meridians and into his limbs and bones. This caused the originally pure white spiritual energy in the lake to gradually take on several additional hues. Moreover, there were vague silhouettes of 7 tiny swords above the lake, flickering in and out of existence. Phew! Lu Changsheng opened his eyes and exhaled a breath of turbid air. Though the returning origin technique is rubbish, it cannot be said to be entirely without merits. Its spiritual power is neutral and balanced, without any properties, allowing for a smooth transition to other cultivation techniques. If I were practicing a different cultivation technique, to transform all of my spiritual power into 7 luminaries' sword chi would be much more difficult and might even lead to a regression in cultivation level. Lu Changsheng introspectively observed the spiritual power in his chi ocean core and silently thought. Just now, he had attempted to switch to practicing the 7 luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture. He wanted to transform the spiritual power of his entire body from the returning origin technique into that of the 7 luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture. He found the process to be very smooth. Although there was a significant loss of spiritual power, the problem was not major. In around 3 to 4 months, all of my spiritual energy will be transformed into 7 luminaries' spiritual power. This 7 luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture truly deserves to be an orthodox level cultivation technique. The spiritual power cultivated from it is not only 3 to 4 times more profound than my original spiritual power but also significantly sharper and more domineering. Once all my spiritual power is transformed into 7 luminaries' spiritual power, I fear I may be comparable to someone of the 8th level energy refinement, or even 9th level cultivation realm. This must be what they call a robust foundation. When the time comes for me to break through to foundation establishment, I shall overcome the magic barrier with ease. Lu Changsheng looked at the spiritual energy in the lake and couldn't help but feel excited. Originally, his reason for wanting a good cultivation technique was to lay a solid foundation for himself, so that he could go further in the future. Now, with this orthodox level cultivation technique, his foundation would be incredibly solid. 7th level energy refinement comparable to 9th level energy refinement. Does that not mean I will be able to challenge those above my rank in the future? No, that's not right. Whenever I've encountered enemies, their cultivation levels have been higher than mine, and when facing an enemy, doesn't everyone rely on tactics rather than just cultivation level? Lu Changsheng thought to himself and then shook his head. He suddenly felt that his circumstances were not very suited to such a battle-focused cultivation technique. On one hand, he had always been kind to others and disliked violence. On the other hand, in a fight, he usually relied on external aids, rather than his own cultivation realm. In such cases, cultivating a technique adept in nurturing life or escaping danger would suit him better. However, now that he had received the cultivation technique and started practicing it, Lu Changsheng wouldn't dwell on those distractions any longer. Besides, Lu Changsheng felt that cultivation techniques for nurturing life or escaping weren't necessarily better or more suited to him. As his cultivation level improved, conflicts and battles on the path of cultivation were inevitable. In the Qi refinement realm, thanks to the system's lucky draws, he had no problem fighting against higher-ranked opponents using external items. However, as his cultivation realm increased, talismans, puppets, treasures, and other external aids would become less and less helpful. They would no longer enable one to fight against opponents of a higher rank as they do now. By then, one's own cultivation combat power would become particularly important. Noticing that it had also grown dark outside, Lu Changsheng stood up and left the spiritual talisman shop to head home. At this moment, at a tavern diagonally opposite the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop, a beautiful girl dressed in a purple gown sat by the window. With her delicate arms supporting her cheeks, she looked out the window with idle boredom. When the girl saw Lu Changxing walking out of the spiritual talisman shop, her eyes suddenly brightened. "I've paid a significant price to allow the Lockhart goo to recover its energy quickly. You better not disappoint me," the girl murmured to herself, gazing at Lu Changsheng's figure. She then raised her palm. And on it, the flesh on the girl's delicate palm shifted and split open, revealing a blood-colored goo insect, less than an inch long and lustrous, wriggling out. "Little guy, it's all up to you now," said the girl to the Lockhart goo. The insect seemed to understand her words, nodding its tiny antenna in response. Seeing this, the girl also smiled, closed her fist gently, and stepped out of the inn. After watching in secret for some time, she had learned Lu Changsheng's daily routine and movements. He basically moved between the spiritual talisman shop and his home. She had also chosen her moment carefully, knowing that the alley Lu Changsheng took home was usually deserted. It was the perfect spot and opportunity for her to take action. Acting within the marketplace, although risky, gave people a sense of lowered guard compared to outside, making it easier for her to succeed. If she chose to act outside the marketplace, then she recalled how Lu Changxing would respond with an onslaught of talisman treasures and a barrage of talismans. She couldn't help but remember the humiliating moment she had been bombarded with them by Lu Changxing, beaten into an embarrassing retreat, and nearly losing her life at his hands. But thinking of Lu Changxing succumbing to the Lockhart goo, falling helplessly in love with her, and being unable to extricate himself, the girl felt exultant. What better revenge is there than to make an old enemy fall in love with you, to the point of desperation? The girl in the purple gown looked at the back of Lu Changxing, her beautiful face breaking into a smile. Seeing Lu Changxing enter the alley and confirming no one else was there, the girl immediately called out, "Lu Daoist, please wait for a moment." Lu Changxing heard someone calling him and paused, turning to look back. He promptly saw a beautiful and spirited girl in a purple gown signaling to him, quickly approaching. "Miss, are you calling me?" Chapter 175. So this is how you attract romantic luck, huh? Lu Changxing looked at the girl in the purple dress with some surprise. "That's right, I heard Lu Daoist is a talisman master, so there is a matter I wish to trouble Lu Daoist with," the girl in the purple dress said with a smile as she quickly walked toward Lu Changxing. "What matter?" Lu Changxing was a bit surprised when he heard this. Though his identity as a talisman master was not a secret, he did not know this girl. The sudden approach of a stranger asking for a favor left him somewhat baffled. "It's just..." The girl in the purple dress had just begun to speak when her eyes suddenly shone with a bewitching purple light. It was brilliant and soul-snatching, causing Lu Changsheng's mental spirit to waver in an instant. However, just as Lu Changxing felt his heart flutter and his mind waver, a cleansing spiritual essence burst from the cold jade pendant on his chest. It quickly brought him back from his dazed stupor. Not good. Lu Changxing regained his senses, immediately realizing that something was amiss. The girl in the purple dress in front of him was problematic. She had just tried to employ some sort of technique on him. He promptly sought to activate the body-protecting techniques of his magical robe and the cold jade pendant. But at that instant, a tingling pain spread like numbness from his neck. It felt as though he had been bitten by something. It made his mental spirit flutter faintly. Yet, in the blink of an eye, boom! Lu Changxing felt the peach blossom goo at his brow burst forth with a powerful will. This breath of will was like an erupting volcano, a pouring river, like an imperious beast that had been defied, unleashing its grandeur in the face of provocation. It suppressed the trembling of his mental spirit. The pink peach blossom mark, usually concealed on Lu Changsheng's forehead, emerged involuntarily, radiating a rose glow. Hiss hiss hiss. Accompanied by the outburst of the peach blossom gust breath of will, a slight hissing sound arose. Lu Changxing immediately heard a faint buzzing noise. Behold, a tiny blood-red bug swiftly flew away from his neck. Lu Changxing, seeing this, enveloped his palm with spiritual power and swiftly grabbed. Like a hawk seizing a rabbit, he tightly captured the tiny creature in his hand. Then, producing a stack of talismans, he looked toward the girl in the purple dress. Hiss! At this moment, the girl let out a muffled grunt. Her face filled with disbelief as she looked at Lu Changxing. Not understanding what was happening. What was wrong with the Lockhart Gu? In that instant, she felt a powerful will emanating from the Lockhart Gu, causing her heart to pound violently. As Lu Changxing met her gaze, their eyes unintentionally locked. In this encounter, the girl in the purple dress felt her heart stir. She sensed a special kind of affection spreading and rising within her heart, making her feel an uncontrollable urge to draw closer to Lu Changxing, who looked unexpectedly pleasing to her eyes. What's happening? No sooner had this emotion begun to spread from her heart than the girl in the purple dress realized that something was off. She had a very clear understanding of herself. Although Lu Changxing was handsome and had an extraordinary temperament, she was not the kind of person to judge by appearances. How could she possibly develop a fondness and desire for closeness just because someone looked handsome? Moreover, she had secretly observed Lu Changxing for some time and had never felt this way. The Lockhart Gu has malfunctioned. Could it be backlash from the Gu creature? Seeing the radiant peach blossom mark on Lu Changsheng's forehead, the girl in the purple dress faintly guessed what had happened. Lu Changxing possessed some sort of rare treasure, or perhaps a Gu that was more powerful and more domineering than the Lockhart Gu, causing her attempt to charm him with the Lockhart Gu to fail, and leading to a backlash from the creature, resulting in the reversal of the Lockhart Gu's effects, impacting her, the host, instead. How can this be possible? The Lockhart Gu is close to a heavenly spirit Gu in rank, and even though it is greatly weakened and not yet fully recovered, it should not be possible for it to backlash like this. How could he possibly possess such a treasure, or a nearly extinct creature like the heavenly spirit Gu? This speculation caused the girl in the purple dress to feel as if tumultuous waves were crashing within her, filled with disbelief. But as she looked at Lu Changxing in front of her, she could feel the affection welling up inside her. This feeling of fondness made her panic more than ever before, because as the host to the Lockhart Gu, she knew all too well the domineering nature of the Lockhart Gu. Once someone was bitten by it, they would uncontrollably develop affectionate feelings toward her. These feelings would intensify over time and contact, growing stronger, eventually leading to an obsession that could push them to die for her. Now with the Gus effects reversed, impacting the host herself, she would start developing uncontrollable affectionate feelings for Lu Changxing, growing into an obsession that would make her willing to die for him. Huff huff huff. Without further thought, Lu Changxing launched a spell with a stack of talismans and directed his green-faced sword to strike at her. Even though private duels were forbidden within the marketplace, and one could not start a fight, how could Lu Changxing not counterattack when the girl in the purple dress had made a move against him? No, I must get away, get far away. Escape the influence of the Lockhart Gu. The girl, seeing the spells and flying sword coming at her, did not dare hesitate further. She formed a protective aura around her body and took out several talismans to activate them, directly withstanding Lu Changsheng's onslaught. Then, with a groan, she turned into a shadow and made a rapid retreat. At that moment, she couldn't afford to think too much, nor did she care about the Lockhart Gu that she had obtained with great difficulty, now falling into the hands of Lu Changxing. All she could think about was taking advantage of the moment, before the Lockhart Gus effects completely overtook her mind and thoughts, to quickly leave this place. To get far, far away from where Lu Changxing was. Chapter 176. So this is how you attract romantic luck, huh? Otherwise, as time went by, the closer I got to her, the faster those feelings of love would permeate my heart. By then, even if Lu Changxing wanted to kill her, she would gladly accept it. Lu Changxing saw the purple-dressed woman turn into a shadow and disappear. He wanted to chase after her but decided it was no use. She was too fast, and without using a talisman he couldn't catch up with her at all. But once out of the alley, there was the main street. With people coming and going on the road, it wasn't appropriate for him to use a bunch of talismans. Who exactly is she and why did she suddenly attack me? Lu Changxing looked in the direction where the purple-dressed girl had vanished, filled with immense confusion. He didn't know when he had offended her, for her to lash out so abruptly. Could it be when I was dealing with stolen goods, someone took notice? Lu Changxing guessed inwardly, but he felt that was unlikely. If someone had been watching him, they wouldn't have made a move like that in the marketplace. Afterward, he looked at the small creature he had captured in his palm. It was a tiny bug, less than an inch long and entirely blood-red in color. What is this? A bug goo? Lu Changxing gazed at the blood-red goo writhing and appearing somewhat wilted in his hand, his eyebrows slightly furrowed. Could it be that she was trying to infest me with goo just now? He remembered the moment the blood-red goo bit him and how his mental spirit shuddered. Immediately afterward, the peach blossom goo between his eyebrows burst forth with a powerful will, suppressing the shudder, and Lu Changxing had a vague speculation in his mind. Since obtaining the peach blossom goo, Lu Changxing had also perused plenty of information about goo. He knew that, similar to demon beasts, the goo were extremely sensitive to the quality of bloodline suppression. For instance, a 9 netherhound with a heavenly rank bloodline could suppress ordinary demon beasts just by its presence. This meant that demon beasts of a common bloodline would inherently feel weakened by 3 parts in spirit and combat strength when facing a 9 netherhound. And it was the same with goo. Even more so. With the peach blossom goo, a heaven spirit goo by his side, he could be immune to the effects of many goo. If other goo tried to infest him, it was like they were challenging and offending the peach blossom goo, which would provoke its instinctual resistance. The response from the peach blossom goo earlier perfectly matched this situation he was aware of. At that moment, the peach blossom goo between his eyebrows sent out a faint ripple. It was indicating he had just gained a wave of romance fortune. Romance fortune? It was just a small wound, already almost healed. He thought this blood-colored goo was quite powerful. One should know, he had cultivated the 100 refinements treasure body art, and his physical body was comparable to a magic artifact. Yet this blood-colored goo managed to breach his defenses with just one bite. However, this peach blossom goo is really something else, good as it is, but every time it's a bit unfathomable. Moreover, if not careful, it could easily turn into a disaster, becoming a peach blossom calamity. Lu Changxing was somewhat weary of this inexplicable fortune in love. Every time he encountered luck in love, it was accompanied by incidents. Especially the first time, he was directly presented with a golden core lady. If there had been a slight mishap, it would have turned into a peach blossom calamity. But to give up the peach blossom goo? He was also reluctant to let go. At least the benefits of having the peach blossom goo outweigh the disadvantages. Not only do I gain more luck in love, but am also immune to the effects of most goo insects. Otherwise, like in this situation, I would have been in danger. Falling head over heels in love with someone because of a love goo, wouldn't that just ruin me? Lu Changxing muttered to himself. Sigh, cultivators have 1,001 tricks, truly leaving one unable to guard against them. I need to be more careful in the future, stay vigilant. Although private fights are forbidden in the marketplace, that doesn't mean there are no dangers. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. Reflecting on the recent events, he acknowledged that he had indeed been lacking caution, which resulted in a passive situation. But now, what should I do with this thing? Lu Changxing looked at the blood-colored goo in his hand, suddenly pondering how to deal with the goo insect. P.S. Although I'm ashamed to ask for a monthly pass with this update, but today I saw in the group chat that there is a raffle for 1,000 monthly passes, and currently I have 911, So I humbly appeal, if you have a monthly pass, please cast one for this author. Tomorrow is the end of the month, and the pass will expire if not used. Once I recover in the next few days, they'll try to increase the update rate. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Chapter 177, 104, based on my guess, this should be a type of Lockhart goo insect. That purple-dressed woman just now was bitten back by this goo, which caused her to develop feelings for me, bringing me a wave of romantic luck. Generally speaking, if the goo insect dies, its effects will disappear as well. Therefore, this goo cannot be killed. Not only can it not be killed, but it must be well cared for, so that there is a chance for revenge in the future. Lu Changsheng looked at the listless blood-colored goo in his hand and silently thought. The purple-dressed woman attacked him out of the blue, laying the goo on him in an attempt to harm him clandestinely. If it hadn't been for the peach blossom goo by his side, he might have fallen for it, becoming her devoted lackey. Such a great vengeance could not easily be let go of. It must be avenged fiercely. If he were to kill the goo right now, causing the effect on her to dissipate, that would be tantamount to letting her off the hook. So he decided to raise the goo well. As long as he had this goo in hand, he would have an additional means of control when he encountered her in the future. Speaking of which, can I refine this goo to serve me? Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly as he suddenly thought. From the recent situation, he could clearly feel that this goo was not ordinary. It was not a regular goo. If he could refine it, he might be able to figure out its effects and use it for himself. Such matters cannot be tried lightly. I will look into information on goo insects later to see if I can find anything about this particular one. After all, goo insects are not something to be trifled with. They are ferocious and difficult to refine. I was able to refine the peach blossom goo only because I drew it from the system. This goo insect is not simple. Now, if I attempt to refine and tame it while it has a master, one misstep and there's a good chance of trouble, or even backlash. Lu Changsheng immediately dismissed the idea of refining this goo. As of now, he did not even know what type of goo this was or what the situation entailed. If he were to rashly refine it, there could very well be unforeseen accidents. After all, having refined the peach blossom goo in the past let him know that refining a goo insect was not easy. If it hadn't been for the fact that the peach blossom goo was drawn from the system, offering no resistance and actively cooperating with him, he wouldn't have been able to refine it at all. This goo insect, though not as remarkable as the peach blossom goo, was clearly extraordinary. Refinement would certainly not be simple. Immediately, Lu Changsheng took out a jade box from his storage bag. He placed the listless blood-colored goo inside. And he took out a sealing talisman to stick on the top, to prevent the goo from escaping. Then he found a magic artifact shop. He spent 30 spirit stones to buy a goo container specially for holding goo insects. He also spent 50 spirit stones to purchase a spiritual pet bag. Storage bags could not contain living things. Even with the goo container, the blood-colored goo could only be placed in the spiritual pet bag, not in the storage bag. And the only spiritual pet bag he had was the one given by the Lu family for the iron feather eagle. So he bought one for himself. In the future, it would be useful for the 9 netherhound as well. Moreover, creatures like demon beasts and goo insects should preferably not be kept together if they are of different species. Otherwise, there might be an accident. Lu Changsheng also did not trust having the blood-colored goo together with the iron feather eagle. After completing all these tasks, Lu Changsheng headed back home. Meanwhile, a purple-dressed young woman left the 9 Dragons market in a rush. What on earth is going on? How could he possibly have such a treasure, a heavenly-grade goo insect like the Lockhart goo? At this moment, Meng Xiaochan still could not believe what had just transpired. It felt almost like a dream. If it weren't for the fact that the Lockhart goo was not in her hand and the lingering affection in her heart, she would truly feel as if she were dreaming. She couldn't believe that the Lockhart goo, which she obtained after so much painstaking effort, was gone just like that. Not only was the Lockhart goo gone, but she also suffered a backlash from the goo insect, putting herself in the pitfall and suffering losses. Damn it! I must kill him and take back the Lockhart Gu. Otherwise, even if I flee far away and never see him again, the Lockhart Gu will continue to affect me. Meng Xiaochan clenched her teeth, a dark hatred flashing in her eyes. However, as this thought emerged, her heart suddenly trembled with pain. The handsome face of Lu Changxing appeared in her mind, making her feel affectionate. She wondered how she could have such thoughts, how she could harm him. Hugh. Such a terrifying Lockhart Gu, such a domineering Lockhart Gu. Meng Xiaochan covered her aching chest, breathing lightly. After a moment, she formed a spiritual art with her hands, touched her forehead, and calmed her restless mental spirit, her eyes filled with determination. No, I can't think of him anymore, otherwise the Lockhart Gu will keep influencing me subtly, and its effects will become stronger and stronger. I must break through to Foundation establishment as soon as possible. Only then can I hope to break free from the Lockhart Gu's influence and restrictions. The Purple Shadow Secret Realm is about to open, and if I can make some gains within, get someone to refine a Foundation establishment elixir for me, then I have a 70% chance of achieving Foundation establishment successfully. Meng Xiaochan dared not continue to dwell on it. She took out a leaf-shaped flying magic artifact from her storage bag, turned into a ray of light, and quickly left. Lu Changxing returned home as usual. He didn't give much thought to the matter with the purple-dressed young woman, mainly because the whole affair was too bewildering for him. He was completely clueless and could not make heads or tails of it. After chatting with his wives and maids and finishing dinner, he fell asleep slowly with the company of his 3 wives. It only occurs when there is a difference of a full rank between the Gu insects, and there is a certain disparity in strength. Although his peach blossom Gu was a heavenly spirit Gu, its strength was not very impressive. It was currently only at the peak of the first transformation. Only when its master, himself, broke through the Foundation establishment stage could it break through to the second transformation. So, Lu Changxing guessed that the bloody Gu was at most an earth spirit Gu. Thinking this, Lu Changxing took the Gu jar out of the spiritual pet bag. He opened the jar lid to check on the bloody Gu insect. It still looked listless. Will this thing starve to death if it's kept like this? Lu Changxing looked at the half-dead appearance of the bloody Gu insect and frowned slightly. After all, Gu insects needed to eat. The peach blossom Gu was quite special. It lived on the fortunes of peach blossoms. It didn't need him to feed it normally. But he did not know what the bloody Gu insect ate. It would be rather embarrassing if it starved to death. After some thought, Lu Changxing tried the most straightforward method. He took out a variety of spirit food and spiritual objects from the storage bag, putting them into the Gu jar to see if it would eat anything. After several attempts, Lu Changxing saw that a so-called blood spirit nectar caught the bloody Gu insect's interest, and it began to lick it. Good. Seeing the bloody Gu insect eating, Lu Changxing immediately felt relieved. He let it eat a drop and then stored the blood spirit nectar away. He planned to drop 1 or 2 drops every few days. Keeping it in this barely alive, listless state was enough. If it got too healthy and escaped, what would he do then? In the blink of an eye, over half a month passed. One day, Lu Changxing received a notification from White Jade Tower. They reported that a batch of maids for members had arrived and asked if Lu Changxing was interested. If he was, he could go and learn more about it. Hearing this, Lu Changxing immediately went to White Jade Tower. He wanted to see what these so-called member-exclusive maids were like. But after learning about them and seeing them, Lu Changxing promptly bid farewell to Feng Jianyang. These maids were indeed excellent. Both in looks and figure, they were the best of the best. Not only did they possess spiritual root aptitudes, but they also cultivated some form of furnace dual cultivation technique, beneficial for cultivation, and even for breaking through realms. But the price was too expensive. Even the cheapest one started at 1,000 spirit stones. Casually, it amounted to several thousand spirit stones. Faced with such prices, Lu Changxing naturally could only take his leave. Sigh, I really am too poor. White Jade Tower is definitely not a place I can afford to patronize at my current stage. Lu Changsheng couldn't help but shake his head as he left White Jade Tower. Upon arriving at Jade Meal Pavilion and seeing Yu Maoqing, he too informed him of his plans. He conveyed that he would be returning to Qingzhou Mountain and that any matters could be addressed to him there through the mail. Although there probably wouldn't be any issues and he wasn't leaving never to return, he still felt the need to notify this long-time acquaintance and friend. Once home, he also informed Gao He of his plans. As for Xia Long, he was not at home. He remembered that the last time he saw him was 3 to 4 months ago. He couldn't help but worry about his neighbor, fearing that something unexpected might have happened to him. In the blink of an eye, another half-month passed. That day, the second elder sent someone to the spiritual talisman shop to inform Lu Changxing of his return to Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Changxing inquired about the number of spots available on the second elder's flying boat. But he was told there were 3 spots. Only 3 spots? Lu Changxing furrowed his brow upon hearing this. He had planned to take Lu Zier, Lu Qing'e, and Little Qing back with him this time. If there were only 3 spots, that meant only the 3 ladies could take the flying boat while he would have to ride the Iron Feather Eagle. Changxing, if you are bringing a large entourage of wives, concubines, and maids, you can hire a spirit boat to take you back. Seeing Lu Changsheng's expression, Lu Miaoge spoke up. She knew that on this trip back, Lu Changxing intended to spend some time with his wives and children, and to rest and relax. Under such circumstances, he would naturally bring his wives and maids back with him. Oh, they have that service within the marketplace? Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised to hear this. He had been in Nine Dragons Marketplace for quite a while and was unaware that one could hire a spirit boat to transport people. If that was the case, he thought of taking Guan Xin, Yu Yao, Xiao Yu Yao, Xiao Yueru, Yun Qianxian, and the 5 children back to Qingzhou Mountain as well. After all, he planned to spend a long time on Qingzhou Mountain, focusing on his cultivation and spending time with his family. It would be better to have all his consorts and children stay at Qingzhou Mountain. Although the matter with the Lu family ancestor had made the situation for the Lu family not very optimistic, there was no need to be too concerned for at least the next few years. Within the marketplace, the spiritual boat pavilion handles the business of transporting cultivators. They usually travel between it and several other marketplaces. You can charter a spirit boat directly to Qingzhou Mountain, but as for the price, I am not quite sure, said Lu Miaoge, her face lovely and her voice soft and gentle. All right, thank you, Sister Miaoge. I will go to the spiritual boat pavilion and ask. Lu Changxing replied immediately upon hearing her words. He was aware of the spiritual boat pavilion. Chapter 181. The more children, the better, no need for others to provide for old age. But now, he felt as if Lu Changxing really was proving it through his actions, indicating that his words were not empty. Thinking about the speed at which Lu Changxing married and had children, Lu Yuanding couldn't help but twitch his mouth slightly. Suddenly feeling somewhat relieved that his daughter, Lu Miaohuan, hadn't married Lu Changxing. Otherwise, by now she would probably already be on her 3rd child. After returning to Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Changxing lived a life of seclusion and minimal outings. Every day was spent cultivating, making talisman, and spending time with his wives and children. Occasionally, he would chat with Li Feiyu and watch him train the kids in martial arts. However, the children were still young and at this stage, martial arts training was about building a foundation. They hadn't truly started practicing martial arts yet. To actually begin martial arts training, they would need to wait until they were around 11 or 12 years old, when their bodies had grown sufficiently. In the blink of an eye, over a month had passed. During this month and a bit, the children in the wombs of Jiang Liyue and Yu Yao were born. Jiang Liyue's child had a spiritual root, but it was only a 9th-grade spiritual root. While the rate at which Lu Changsheng's children grew had slowed compared to the previous year, it continued to increase steadily. In recent days, the 63rd child had been conceived. Today was also the day of the Lu family's spiritual root testing ceremony. Lu Changsheng had 5 children participating in this ceremony. The results of the test for the 5 children were as he expected. Only little 7th, Lu Xinji, was detected to have a spiritual root. The quality of the spiritual root was also as he had guessed. A 9th-grade spiritual root, biased toward the wood element. Even though it was the lowest 9th-grade spiritual root, it still made his mother, Lu Yuzhu, extremely happy. And it made Lu Changsheng's other wives and maids incredibly envious. After all, having a spiritual root, no matter how low-grade, was still a spiritual root, with the potential for cultivation in the future. From now on, their fates would no longer align with mere mortals. Theirs would be the path of immortals. Considering the feelings of his other wives and children, Lu Changsheng didn't celebrate extravagantly. Things continued as usual, as if it was just a regular test. As for Lu Xianxi's cultivation, there was no rush right now. He was too young, only 6 years old, his body had not yet fully developed, and starting cultivation too early was not a good thing. Regardless of whether they have spiritual roots, they are our children. Lu Changsheng gently caressed her soft skin. Chu Zhenzhen had borne him 3 children, 2 of whom had spiritual roots, but he didn't want his wives to focus too much on the matter of the children's spiritual roots. After all, he himself had struggled and suffered with this issue before. It wasn't until he had many children, most of whom didn't have spiritual roots, that he gradually let go and moved on. The kind of nature Chu Zhenzhen had, if she thought too much, it would consume her every day. Yes. At Lu Changsheng's words, Chu Zhenzhen snuggled up to him and softly nodded. She didn't have much interest in cultivation, and she wasn't particularly concerned about whether the children had spiritual roots or not. She just wanted to live a simple life with the person she loved. It was just that she thought Lu Changsheng would prefer children with spiritual roots. After all, Lu Changsheng often touted the benefits of having many children, not only for a full house, but to also hopefully birth children with good spiritual root potential and then cultivate them well. Now hearing Lu Changsheng say this, she felt much more at ease. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed by. One day in the practice room, huff! Lu Changsheng opened his eyes and exhaled a breath of stale air. 7 threads of sword qi flowed around his body, visible both within and outside, sharp and ethereal. And he understood why cultivation techniques could occupy a place in the world of laws and wealth. The benefits and wonders of a profound cultivation technique can't be fully explained in a few words. After converting to the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, Lu Changsheng didn't continue to cultivate. He went outside to relax, chat with his wives and concubines, and play with his children. After all, he was not one who would engage in arduous cultivation. Night fell. Over dinner, Lu Changsheng learned something new. The Purple Shadow secret realm was about to open. A core high-ranking member of the Lu family, along with several elite descendants, were heading towards the Purple Shadow secret realm. Lu Changsheng had heard of the Purple Shadow secret realm but did not know much about it. After Xiao Yuris' explanation, he came to know what this Purple Shadow secret realm was all about. It was a secret realm jointly managed by several immortal sects of Jiang country, which could also be considered a spiritual vein-blessed land. Inside were many opportunities and treasures of heaven and earth. Every 30 years, the several immortal sects would open the realm, sending Qi refinement disciples to explore and experience. Besides their disciples, the immortal sects also allowed descendants of other families and loose cultivators to enter. Because anything obtained within the realm had to pass through the hands of the immortal sects upon exit. In such circumstances, the immortal sects were naturally willing to allow more loose cultivators to enter. Other loose cultivators and family descendants knew this but still rushed towards the Purple Shadow secret realm. Because, in addition to opportunities and various treasures, it also contained the main ingredients to refine Foundation establishment elixirs. And having obtained rare opportunities and precious treasures inside, one could exchange them for Foundation establishment elixirs with the immortal sex. Hearing this, Lu Changxing immediately knew. The Lu family's visit to the Purple Shadow secret realm this time was for the Foundation establishment elixirs. After all, the situation for the Lu family right now was not optimistic. A new Foundation establishment great cultivator was urgently needed. If we can obtain a Foundation establishment elixir, and with the Lu family's strength, collect a few Foundation establishment spiritual objects, perhaps our Lu family could give birth to a new Foundation establishment great cultivator. Did the eldest miss go to the Purple Shadow secret realm? Lu Changxing couldn't help but ask. Lu Miaoge was at the 7th level energy refinement and was considered one of the elites of the Lu family's younger generation. The Purple Shadow secret realm is very dangerous. Sister Miaoge is a talisman master, so naturally, the family wouldn't let her go. This time, Uncle Yuan Shan took my brothers Miaoquan and Miaofa with him, Lu Miaoyun spoke out. This wasn't a secret, and as a direct descendant of the Lu family, she was also aware of some of these matters. Lu Changxing nodded in understanding. He was aware of Lu Yuanshan, a senior member of the Lu family with the strength of 9th level energy refinement. As for Lu Miaoquan and Lu Miaof, he wasn't too clear about them, but estimated that they also held the power of around the 6th or 7th level energy refinement. Who knows whether the Lu family will gain anything from the Purple Shadow secret realm, Lu Changxing thought inwardly. He still hoped that the Lu family would gain something from it, to obtain a Foundation establishment elixir. After all, if the Lu family could have a new Foundation establishment great cultivator, he wouldn't have to worry about the Lu family ancestors' affairs anymore, and the idea of escaping. Although he had met the Lu family ancestor once before, he felt that the ancestor didn't seem like someone on the verge of death. But in this time, he had also heard rumors to that effect. He knew that when Yuningrong had said the Lu family ancestor wouldn't live past 10 years, it wasn't unfounded. Foundation establishment elixir. Foundation establishment is an eventual step for me as well, even if I cultivate the 7 luminaries great freedom sword scripture and the 100 refinements treasure body art, and have 2 Foundation establishment spiritual objects, my chances of Foundation establishment are still not high, probably just about 60 to 70%. But the Foundation establishment elixirs are basically monopolized by the major immortal sects, only occasionally available, and once they are made available, they are usually contended for by other powers, making it very hard for loose cultivators to acquire one. Lu Changxing also couldn't help but think about his own future. Though he was cultivating 2 orthodox level cultivation techniques, the 100 refinements treasure body technique and the 7 luminaries great freedom sword scripture, and relying on Foundation establishment spiritual objects for a 60 to 70% chance of Foundation establishment, to Lu Changxing, this probability was still too low. He absolutely required a Foundation establishment elixir for a sure breakthrough. Otherwise, the risk of attempting Foundation establishment was simply too great. If the attempt failed, the lightest consequence would be injury and regression of cultivation, and at worst, the meridians might sustain damage, turning one into a wasted individual, or it could even result in direct death. Without at least 90% confidence, and assurances that he wouldn't die if he failed to establish his foundation, Lu Changxing wouldn't risk it. With a system by his side, he must remain as steady as an old dog. He didn't expect the system lottery to come up with a single talisman. This single talisman seemed a bit underwhelming in his eyes. It didn't quite match the previous principle of system products, must be fine quality. Lu Changxing directed his mental spirit towards the golden talisman in the system space. Information emerged on it. Talisman, life-substituting talisman. Rank, 4th rank. Description: the talisman connects with the soul to offer protection from harm and the power to escape through space. 4th rank talisman? Lu Changsheng was startled to see the rank of this life-substituting talisman. Just a moment ago, he felt that it was somewhat underwhelming to receive only one talisman from the system lottery. But unexpectedly, it was a 4th rank talisman. As far as Lu Changxing knew, in the cultivation world, even 2nd rank supreme talismans were already extremely rare. A 3rd rank talisman was considered a strategic level resource that money couldn't easily buy. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.